Okay, hello everybody. Excellent. Okay, I do hear the sounds of Cultist Simulator. I'm sorry for being late. I know I always say sorry for being late, but that does not change my sincerity. I just had a late start. A bunch of stuff got in the way, and I did not have the time to announce it on Twitter. But I'll still try to go for the full duration of the stream. I've got a lot of stuff on deck for tomorrow, though, so if I don't think I'm going to be able to get a proper sleep. So, an unexpected thing that came out of work was they hosted they call it a hackathon, but basically it was they had this focus of gamification. So it was either to do internal processes to see if there's anything that could be gamified, but also to see if there's some way of maybe doing some form of outreach in the form of a game. And clearly there's a lot of ways that this can be done wrong. Not everything has to be a game, and clearly an entity that's a little bit more focused on analysis is not necessarily going to communicate its ideas in game form. That's not necessarily going to be the best way to bring that across. But, I mean, it's a rare opportunity that I'm able to combine my two interests so directly. So I went through to it. And the kind of feedback seemed to be... So, first of all, it's a real struggle to try and pitch that, because absolutely nobody in a decision-making capacity is familiar with games, and that was actually one of the specific bits of feedback that I got in terms of presenting the idea or pitching it, which is like, don't use any game examples. And I'm like, this is silly. Like, I mean, my view is you should probably have someone at least familiar with it when judging it, because otherwise it's sort of like, at this point I just kind of assume that none of this stuff is actually going to be made and it's a training exercise or something along those lines. But the other bit of feedback that I got is that it is one of the more ambitious things that have come out of these hackathons, but that it actually has a very credible chance of potentially being done. So the sort of final pitch to sort of the heads of communications and whatnot is tomorrow. And I'd kind of like to be prepared for that. I do not have very high hopes for the project's future, but we did put something together. So I'm kind of in a state where I'd like to make sure that I'm ready to go, sort of first thing in the morning and get everything going. And that is sort of what's been occupying me today, and why I come to you belatedly, and why I may be shirking a little bit on the final time. Anyways, this is not about my quote-unquote game, but rather Weather Factory's game, the lovely Cultist Simulator. Responsibilities: design, writing, and coding by Alexis Kennedy, production, marketing, and biz by Lottie Bevan, UI design and coding by Martin Nerukar. I will remind you all that Nowhere Profit is now out. It did reasonably well, it looks like, and I believe he's already done a couple of big patches to the game. So if you tried it on release and you still have it, and maybe it wasn't quite enough to hold your attention because of the difficulty, I do know some adjustments have happened along those lines. Art by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan, Sarah Gordon. Music by Maribeth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Erb for Mickey Mar Productions Limited. This will come with the deluxe edition of the game if you decide to buy it. Or sorry, I think it's called Ancestral Edition. But the soundtrack is also available on all of the different streaming services. Audio by Soundcuts, additional writing by Lottie Bevan. Oh, it's actually also worth mentioning as well, while I have no idea whether or not this is something that people will use. I mean, clearly Steam has enabled this, so I'm assuming somebody has to find some use. But if you, for some reason, really like the music but don't want the game, you can actually buy the soundtrack as a standalone product on Steam now. Again, I suspect this is not really going to be something that people do. But if you find yourself in this spot, maybe you're just not allowed to play games with occult themes, but you really want to enjoy the music when you're not on, when I'm not streaming or whatever. You will be able to get that through Steam if you also, so if you're not allowed to play occult games and you do not currently use one of the subscription music services, and let's also add to that you for some reason do not want to purchase the album off of one of those music services, you can go to Steam and get the standalone soundtrack. Audio by Soundcuts, additional writing by Lottie Bevan, additional coding by Phaedra McCormick, Chris Payne, Mark Gagne, also known as Lyra Zider, also known as another incredibly helpful individual who answered another one of my really stupid questions, which actually turned out to be... So I was looking in the right place originally, and I had introduced an error in my code, and I thought instead that I just wasn't reading the database correctly, and as soon as he sort of told me what his take on that was, I'm like, okay, nope, I know what the problem is now. So very patient individual and incredibly friendly, and I'm actually very pleased to report, while he will probably never know this, I almost immediately ran into another problem, but from the interactions was able to sort of like self-diagnose. So I was like dreading the moment where I was like, oh god, am I gonna have to bug him again like the day after? But I managed to get it worked. So he is indirectly a very good programming instructor, though that is not his responsibility. Anyways, a full-time member of Weather Factory now, and certainly a very well-deserved position, because he has done a lot of sort of community service for this game in the form of making things like the Frangiclave and the Frangiclave database, as well as the Frangiclave mod manager. Hannah Rose is the next full-time hire for Weather Factory. Hannah Rose does a lot of game jam stuff, actually. She's got a really nice portfolio on her website. Also, absolutely kills it in the robot rap battles on the Jackbox Party Pack. I got my first exposure to that game by going up against her, and like just had no possible way of winning. But Hannah Rose is, I believe, responsible for sort of the UI and the... Oh, crap. I don't remember the actual, the formal list of responsibilities, but did a really neat tweet sort of showing a bunch of different visual styles in a default sort of setting. It is also worth mentioning, if you follow these people as well as Alexis and Lottie, you get a sneak peek at some of the things that are being made for the Book of Hours. Additional design by Callan Porter, marketing and PR by Claire Sharkey. The last not last chronologically, but the last on this list in terms of the full-time hires for Weather Factory. And finally, special thanks to Sonia and PK, Matt Hosty, Haley Urias, and literally everyone who has ever sent feedback or a bug report. Thank you. Reminder again, if you have not signed up for it already, there is the Book of Hours wish list, which is right here. You can also sign up for it at weatherfactory.biz. And the Kickstarter will be going live on September 3rd. So if you would like to open your hearts and wallets and get into the ground floor, you will be able to do so. Of course, if you are already signed up for this this mailing list, you'll also know that you can see the Kickstarter page right now, get a little bit of an idea of what some of the backer rewards are going to be, and also give some feedback as to what it is. I will comment as well. I'm pretty much ready to go into the game. I think we're probably going to have a smaller audience this time because I'm starting so late. But it is worth mentioning that the Book of Hours... I'm sorry. I am already well disposed towards the game, and I know I've said this before, but reading the description of the Book of Hours, especially the descriptions in terms of like what the game is going to be like, that page has quite a bit in terms of just talking about how the game is supposed to feel, what you're supposed to do inside of it. And while I'm obviously going to follow Weather Factory sort of down whatever rabbit hole they go, there ultimately has to be a good game behind it. And it's fair to say, like, as much as I like Cultist Simulator, I need to be interested in a game to try it. And again, like, the Book of Hours is by a cool enough developer that I'll give it a shot, kind of no matter what. But when reading that description, like, I'm really looking forward to trying this. So it's not guaranteed that it's going to be made, of course. For that, we need a successful Kickstarter. But if you want to sort of see what's gotten me so excited and all of that, do sign up for that mailing list. You'll be able to take a look at the Kickstarter, give your comments if you are so inclined, and if you'd much rather participate when the when the event actually happens, you can just wait till September 3rd, and I'm sure many people, whoever you follow who likes this game, will be making lots of noise about it when the time comes. All right, with that in mind, let us continue our medium playthrough. So we're playing Abraham Van Eck. We have finally gone down the path of the pale canvas. So essentially, the blunder that I had here was I was very focused on trying to figure out what I would do with, dedication, remembrance. I really wanted to try and find out, like, how am I... What's the best way for me to put this? Like, I'm really trying to figure out, like, how do I get this painting thing going? I'd already sort of known from some other chats and some other interactions that the goal of the ghoul was a painting. And of course, in the lore of the game, they talk about the palest painting and whatnot. But I couldn't quite make sense of how to get it set up. And so ultimately, I essentially took a longer time to get up and running. And the reason for that was because I tend to play very conservatively. As it happens, my lineup wasn't exactly that strong for the encounters by any stretch of the imagination. But in the end, I wound up being able to, what's the best way to put it? Like, I got to, I got to a point where really I couldn't do much else, and that it made more sense for me to go with sort of a thin lineup than it was to just sort of sit and wait forever. And as it turns out, the first step towards getting the pale canvas was something that I needed to get from a location. So that was one of the reasons why it took me so long to get into the ghoul. It's actually a relatively straightforward interaction, and it just happens to be that, given the way that I play, I made less progress than I needed. This, of course, does not mean that I wanted to be told to do that. Obviously, the fun of the game is to discover everything. But that was it. There's two halves to that equation. Just like I want to sort of learn and to make my own mistakes, making my own mistakes isn't really all that helpful unless I can actually learn from them. And so my failing in the case of the pale canvas and why it took me so long to get it was that I didn't really acknowledge the fact that it could be that the necessary ingredients came from sort of playing the game normally. I tend to notice this is my bad habit for Cultist Simulator, is whenever I get stuck on something or wherever I wind up sort of missing something obvious, it's because I'm trying to think of it as in I'm playing the game, I am trying to outdo the game, where in reality, the more rewarding way to play and the way that I think I'd probably not make those mistakes would be if I start thinking a little bit more like, well, if I was in this position, or what seems to make sense in the context of what I'm playing. And as much as I enjoy sort of getting swept up in the story of the game and the environment, I definitely know I'm moving cards onto things, and I think of it very mechanically. So anyways, let's take a look at our position right now, because I know I had to make a few decisions. We are currently doing our medium job. Now, the challenge that I'm going to run into, and it shouldn't actually be that big of a deal, so I am sharing a profitable memory with Miss Nania. Okay, so what are the things I need to worry about right now? Right now, we've got the perils of renown, so the weary detective is hunting us, and if the weary detective picks up this notoriety And of course, it's going to be, when the time comes, it's going to be a higher likelihood that this mystique is going, or that some of this mystique is going to be gone. There's always this possibility that they'll take up the notoriety at some point, and it'll convert this tentative evidence into damning evidence. So one of the first things I want to do is to eliminate the threat of the evidence. I could try and eliminate the threat of the notoriety, but the thing that makes the notoriety unlikely to be selected by the weary detective also makes it unlikely for the notoriety to be selected from the heart follower. So it seems better to deal with it directly. If I'm feeling particularly bold, I might send Yzabet. But in this case, I think Porter might be a little more appropriate in this case. And the problem is that if Yzabet gets a third wound, then she's dead. So, okay. So, although the fact that she's got the 2 winter here does make it a little bit easier to upgrade her, of course, we're already at level 5. So that's going to be one thing that I want to work on. Of course, there's the trade-off where, okay, so let's say I want to do that. Do I then give up the, something profitable in order to, like, do I give up these meetings with Miss Nania to give up the remaining memories? Do I try and use my medium job for that? If I use the medium job, what do I do with the fact there's only 24 seconds left on the restlessness? But right now, priority number 1 for me is to deal with this evidence and to stop it from being turned into damning evidence. And so either way I do the either way I handle the medium job, I should generate some mystique. I think one thing I'm going to try and do, I think I'm going to say that I will accept these as potential inputs for the medium job or a chat with Miss Nania, but I'm going to sack the restlessness. So when this job is done, I'm going to use the restlessness to paint. That will also allow me to squirrel away the notoriety and keep me safe from that while I let my follower work on the evidence. Hey, Sean, how you doing? It is very good to see you as always. I feel like there was something gaming related I want to show. Oh, yes. Do you have direct messages enabled on Twitch at all? Because there's a joke that I found in this game that you might be amused by. Actually, I have a way of testing that. I'll send you one right now. Sorry, chat, I realize this is not the most exciting thing that I can be doing, but this is super important. It gives me a minute to look this up anyway. Cool. New Twitter. I try not to be one of those people who complains when something changes, but the new Twitter has definitely been creating some struggles for me. All right. And then, Sorry about that. That was fresh in my mind, and I already forgot to share this once. So, yes. There is a funny... I want to try and allow... So there's the possibility... The problem with this is that it's funny if you understand the context, and I also was absolutely delighted by finding this. So let me just say, if you have ever had... If you follow the developer of this game on Twitter, and if you followed them for a while, and you know how to look at the JSON files inside the game, so like all of these cards... You can modify them. This is what the modding is all about. If you do these two things, there's actually something very funny that you can find in the game. But I think finding it is part of the fun, and I have no idea how public they wanted to make it. So needless to say, if you want to go on a fun treasure hunt, this is my version of the enigmas. All right, carrying on. So I decided that we're going to sack the restlessness in order to paint. That will buy us the time with the notoriety in order to get one of my followers. So one, Miss Nania will either be consuming the memories, or that will buy me the time for my follower to go and do the job. I haven't figured out which I want to do about that. We've got Course of the Heart on its way, but we don't have anything to cure. We've got Fascination, which is coming up. This will turn into Fleeting Reminiscence, so I don't feel bad about getting rid of the Restlessness. We're going to generate another notoriety for ransacking Cater's office. Okay, yep, I know what we're doing. And then, of course, I need to actually read the lore that we've got. So let's start with that. Treatise on the Underplaces. Herein, the 17th century mystic and antiquarian Claude Hirschelt describes the bounds or underplaces on the borders of dreams. On the borders of dream. He warns that they shift over time. So, let's do... We'll read that. The walls of the mantis, Hirschelt begins, are the size of starlight. Many of his directions are equally unhelpful, but common relationships do emerge. All right. And yes, let's... Oh yeah, sorry, I meant to read the content. So here's the capacious room where Mr. Cater once watched his workers on the factory floor. The window glass is long gone, and the rats and crows have made this place their battleground. But perhaps there is still something of use here. Two floorboards lift away to reveal a hollow beneath Cater's desk. The rats have made free with the biscuits he stored there against the peckishness which haunts the entrepreneur, but they could not penetrate this iron lockbox. A moment with a crowbar will open it. So, one of my favorites, Pope Clifton is back into the fold. We've got more notoriety for doing underhanded deeds. Valsine is back. We've got Cat Caro, the other fine lantern follower who is useful to us. Where did I put my Spintrea? Do I just not have any bronze Spintrea? Alright, well, I'm going to put this with the other currencies. We have the abandoned warehouse, so at some point I'm going to need to pick a headquarters, but I think I'm going to wait until I have a little bit more lore and decide what my upgrades are going to be. We've got a vital pigment, so if I want to do some painting with forbidden relics, I can do that. It's not unusual for a red this red to survive. It's not usual for a red this red to survive the death of the body. Also, bronze Spintrea initiates of the hidden world use Spintrea to pay for services. Bronze Spintrea usually display the act of shaping on their reverse side. Spintrea can be sold for more traditional funds at an auction house. Merivine Idol. The Merivai would make little wooden idols to placate the witch twins they feared in their lake. The lake is almost dry now, but the idols and the witch twins yet remain, yet shadowed with the aspect of the heart. By the way, I don't know if this is clear from the stuff that Weather Factory has posted, but I will tell you one thing that I have learned from the Kickstarter, and you will all have to go sign up for the wish list to learn more, weatherfactory.biz. I believe Hush House is the Continental of the secret world. So if you've ever watched John Wick and that hotel that they're all in, Hush House is the Continental. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, the Forsaken Reach. Now, the danger that I have here is that I'm going to generate more notoriety than I can handle. It's likely that we're going to have to go up against nasty folks, so let's start with... Well, let's see what it says here. Along the grey banks of the rotting river, the warehouses wait. Perhaps I have identified one where an unusual cargo is stored. You found all the expeditions in the capital, but you can find and visit the Reach several times. I will bring Yzabet. Now, again, it's a worry because one wound and she's toast. But this gives me options. I'm less likely to want to bring Moth in, to be completely honest, but... The law does not touch this decaying fringe of the city. The mud here has claimed many lives, and there will, no doubt, be some wretched criminals or other layering in the warehouse. Okay, so this sounds much more like a forge job. Unfortunately, we don't have 10 forge. Do we have 10 lantern? We do. So let's try Cat Caro instead. And away we go. Okay, so Fleeting Reminiscence will give me a restlessness back when the time comes. I've been paid my fee. It's difficult to say whether I've earned it. Fortunately, it's difficult for them to say whether I've earned it too. So there's our restlessness. We're going to use that as an input to a painting right away. But before we go any further, how are we? We don't have any staleness, so we will double up the notoriety here. I'm going to add passion to it, just hopefully so my staleness doesn't go up too high. You never know, this might be a living. And we will paint with restlessness. So now I don't need to worry about the weary detective finding the notoriety for now, but of course we're not out of the woods. This is more just buying myself some time. I think because I know I have the outside option of sort of like painting and things like that, I might be tempted to use Miss Nania again. But we'll see. I'll just toss money. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. Alright, the expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So, treacherous ground, we need forge or lantern. And then, of course, there's the Watchers. Mortals, perhaps even ordinary mortals, but quite a number of them. They can be fought, seduced, or deceived. Well, let's see if we can do the nice option. We'll add Saliba. Miss Nania says nothing. The next day, I receive an unexpected package in the post. So I think I might actually get some more money if I do something profitable in the like at the seance. So what I think I'm going to do here, so let's just think a little bit about what'll happen. Let's say there's another 20, even 30 seconds on this. We'll have enough with something profitable. Add another 30 to that, we'll have enough with something shameful. So we should be able to get by with using every single one of these in the seances. So what I'm going to do with that, we're going to take, not use it, but we're going to take Porter. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? And in this case, we're going to add the tentative evidence. So my scheme will most likely succeed. There is always a chance that something will go awry. So what we're doing here is we're bringing Porter along on the chance that it fails and they get a wound. But of course, the nice thing about this will be is if it succeeds, now I only have to worry about one tentative evidence, which is more than halfway done. So this is a lower risk effort to destroy the evidence. The sick room grows close and stale. It is time to get up. So while I'm waiting for that, let's go to the stag door. Actually, you know what? I think I want to go through the white door in this case. This is just because I might have an opportunity to get a favor from authority. I see the mistakes, but I can also see the end. Finished. Exceptional work. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. One other side bonus is that usually you do wind up getting a little bit more mystique for doing a painting with your reputation, so this will also help make up some of that reputation that I just lost. A picturesque account of a journey through nightmare interspersed with what might be partial rites. On the 18th ascent is the bud. On the 36th ascent, the blossom. So the Iguvine rite. Every door in the mansis requires its sacrifice before it will open. The Iguvine rites prescribe the manner of the sacrifice. We already have one of those. Okay. Next option would be The Locksmith's Dream, Stolen Reflections, the fourth volume of Teresa Gallmer's expansive work, no longer a discussion on the dreams of artisans, but a very valuable survey of other works. The tone is calmer than that of Trespasses, but occasionally fearful, even paranoid. This volume was published in 1926, but almost immediately recalled and pulped by the publisher, at the request of the author or possibly the authorities, depending on which story you believe. A few copies survive. Janus is the gatekeeper, the twin god, the god that wounds, the presager of changes, the sun, the moon. So we identify him with the watchman, the twins with the mother, with the forge, with the meniscate and the madrigard. He cannot be all these, can he? The Flamins knew the church, knew the dry land, knew Elgabalus. Is he then Synthesis, or is he something else? In Galatea they called him Ennius Lamius, but the Obliviots are notorious for their slanders. Actually, I think I said it was Galatia. I think it's Galatia. Alright, we call upon the watchman who illuminates. The watchman will lend virtue to our lamps so that they will show us the perils to avoid, probably. Pope Clifton will bring us over the edge. The watchman will clear our sight so that we can almost certainly pass without error. Okay, we're done painting. I've got my mystique to show for it. I've got some contentment, which I probably won't need. So, of course, we used only notoriety in the creation of this painting, so we gained 2 reputation in addition to the notoriety that we're a little more worried about. And we spent 1 wealth in exchange for... We spent 1 wealth in exchange for the 3 that we got back. So that was actually a reasonable run of it. So now we have a reputation as a medium. If I don't use this something profitable, I'm going to lose it. So my reputation as a performer is ruined. My reputation as an oracle has only begun, but the authorities have their eye on me. I found someone who will benefit from this memory, and they will pay well. So it looks like I've got another contentment coming up, which is normally nice, but I don't really have much use for it at the moment. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the scar is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. I am interested, of course, in what happens with this particular conversation. Of course, we only have... It's only the one evidence that we need... we only need one evidence to cause problems. And we are going to be losing another batch of it relatively soon, so... We both did well out of that, and my reputation is a little uncannier. So this is, of course, why I'm going to be kind of hammering the reputation as a medium, just to try and replenish some of this. We will take something shameful. I have found someone who will purchase my silence. Oops, sorry, guys. As I mentioned before, I knew there was a Ligeti track in the original demo, and despite the fact that I have never heard this song on a Ligeti recording, for the longest time I always misidentified this. And I don't know, this is actually one of the reasons why backseating becomes frustrating to me, because when I make an actual mistake, like the music, nobody knows to correct it. Or maybe they're just so terrified by me getting mad when people backseat. But like the things that are actually cases of I genuinely don't know and would like to know, usually there isn't anybody around for that. It's only when it's stuff that I kind of already know that people volunteer it. So it's weird. I don't know why the internet is like that. It's kind of like people are willing to share the stuff that you could find on Wikipedia if you wanted. But when it comes to stuff that's confusing and there isn't an authority on, suddenly all the opinions dry up. So you stopped. We're terrorized. But anyways, I think I last cast I managed to actually get out that I knew that I was wrong on this. But I feel like an idiot because I know I've said so many times. Both compositions are wonderful. I know more about Ligeti both from... I originally found out about him because of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Because I'd always thought, like, Kubrick used almost exclusively classical music. And then there's the, like... There's the Ligeti piece that's in there. It's Atmospheres, I think. And... I'm like, oh, I wonder who composed that. And then I found out, no, that's not actually something made specifically for the movie. It's another classical piece. And then I checked it out because it was so weird and I wanted to see how it was going. So you're just like Julius Caesar. You go from was Caesar like that? I always thought he was relatively forgiving. Worst people to be compared to, though. Erudition. I soak up knowledge as a shadow soaks up light. I may be close to advancement. And last night's dream, I was at the Lodge of the Sage Knight behind the White Door. It's difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I'd lost my speech when I passed the White Door. How is it that I can speak, she said to me. I didn't come here through the White Door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else. Oh, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, hail Julius Chalk, Emperor of the Stream. I mean, I am born in July, so... yeah, I mean, I'd be honest with you, like, I don't think it is bad that if somebody is sort of on the margins, that they just keep things to themselves, because obviously, like, so I'm sure nobody's noticed this, but it's at the point now when people just tell me how to play Cultist Simulator, I don't even finish reading the comment, like, I just delete them. So I try to reply to everything, but, like, I just got really tired of, like, writing a reply, don't tell me how to play the game, and delete it, so I just automatically delete them now. Hey, Casual Nothing, System Caesar. So, like, with that, I mean, and it's really simple, right? Like, if I tell you, you know, Gabriel Byrne is actually Kaiser Soze in The Usual Suspects. Sorry if you've watched. Now you have to figure out whether or not I actually told you the truth. If you haven't watched it, you should probably go watch that movie. Basically, you know, like, you get one shot at getting that right, and if it turns out that the person didn't know and they wanted to enjoy that for themselves, you know, there's no going back. And so my general feeling has always been that on Twitch, people should always go with the assumption that they don't want, like, people don't want to be told how to play the game. And, like, if it comes to, like, a large stream, so if it's something like Man versus Game or, you know, whoever you want, like, it is fully expected that people will not tell them how to play the game. But of course, when it's a smaller stream, it's like, okay, well, the rules are different, right? Because obviously people play by different rules when it's small. They need the viewers, so they'll put up with anything. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's nice that the tags are there now because people can indicate, you know, backseat friendly. I think that's an improvement because that's people sort of indicating that they're okay with it. But I mean, overall, I think there are worse things in the world. It's like anything, right? It's even if you're doing like science or something along those lines, beginning from a position of modesty that basically you don't know everything and that you'll figure out the lay of the land before you make a grand statement of some kind. I feel that kind of can take you a long way. So they're both real names, but you also wonder if there's an actual Kaiser Soze. Good question. We should find out. He's supposed to be Turkish. Chalk for the chalk god, systems for this throne. You are all very kind. Thank you. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to make it a rant on backseating and stuff like that, but it's just one of those things, because I remember I've talked in private with I think a couple of you actually, just saying how funny it is, like the very rare times that I've said, hey, I actually don't know how this thing works, can somebody let me know? And that's the time when there's, you know, all of a sudden all this really smart people from before suddenly can't be found. Alright, my minion has returned, stumbling, mumbling, clumsily bandaged. They were caught in the coils of their own plan. Heal a fallen follower with talk. This is going to be dangerous. So we have quite a few notoriety on the board now. Now, if I don't want to lose this fleeting reminiscence, I need to do something about it. But as it is, I think I'm going to heal up Porter because I need to get this danger off the board. And I also know that because the Season of Despair is coming up, I'm going to have, as long as I don't get any dread, I know I'm going to be safe. You haven't been playing Warhammer, you can't prove it. I actually installed Vermintide again. That strikes me, I'm always interested in terms of what you guys would like to see in terms of co-op casts, because I think Johnny and I have been looking to do something after A Way Out went so well. Oh, that's really good that I didn't have the fascination come up. I had no idea that this one gave you fascination as well. Season of Visions. But yeah, I think we are looking for more stuff to do co-op with. So I think Vermintide, I installed that recently. I think that's one you might be up to for co-op. But with that in mind, if you guys are interested in seeing us co-op something, let us know. You like Vermintide 2, you think a lot of people are meh on it, but you really like it. The biggest problem I run into is that I don't think the AI is very good in the first one. I haven't tried it in the second. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people playing Vermintide. At least when I go searching, I can't actually find other humans, so... Janice has, they say, not one face, but two, to which I reply, why only one? Why only two? Herschelt and Cosley, according to Thomas Love Denman, once agreed that Janus was all the gods and none, but later Herschelt insisted that he was all the gods, and Cosley favored simply none. Cosley is a fedora-wearing, neckbeard atheist who always says that within the first, 2 sentences of meeting you. I guarantee it. Denman was a sinister dilettante, but this rings true of them both. We've got another copy of the Ecdysist's Parable, and we have the Unmerciful Mantra. Mercy, saith the Watchman, is found only in shadow. Okay, so if I want to do any studying, I'm going to have to translate Lord Franklin Bancroft's Diaries, 1750 to 1790, the notorious journal of a notorious gentleman, written in Latin, no doubt for the sake of safety. Let's translate it. Lock the study door, the work begins. Alright, Dread runs around. A shabby transaction, but a profitable one. So 3 funds for that. That's actually worth remembering that the shameful one works so well. My reputation as a performer is ruined. My reputation as an oracle has only begun, but the authorities will have their eye on me. So unfortunately, I'm not going to have anything to sort of spend the money on. Or sorry, I'm not going to have anything to generate money for about 30 seconds, but this might be a good time for me to squirrel away a bunch of notoriety. At least long enough for me to try and ditch this evidence. The good news is if I can extend this for 2 minutes, I don't need to worry about this one. But we've had pretty bad luck with our... I'm curious what happened to all my money. Anyways, let's add Rhaenyra. Come closer, dear ones. We have something special for you. But yeah, so the idea here is going to be, if I can, we'll paint with the 3 notoriety while I get Porter cleaned up. We'll hopefully let this expire. Remembering the dead, something menacing. My client is aghast, but also agog. Some people will pay for this. Some people will pay for anything. All right, so unfortunately, I'm not going to have access to... I'm not going to have access to Fleeting Reminiscence as quickly as I thought because I just earned some dread. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wait as long as I can on the... Ooh, this will be good for recruitment. An icy atmosphere. So I do have other things I'd like to use the talk verb for, but the air crisps the skin, frost marks the glass. A 6-order influence, the signs are unmistakable. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. If unused, it will become dread. So I'm going to bring in the icy atmosphere. This is going to be, again, this is going to be a little bit of a tightrope to watch, or to walk. Last night, the white door was bright as a mirror, bright as fresh snow, bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it and still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. So in 4.3 seconds, we're going to heal Porter. Now, normally I'd just send Porter off to the next task, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and upgrade one of my existing followers, and then we'll move Porter on. But I am going to wait a couple seconds. 2, 1. Okay. 1 second is quite enough. So this, unfortunately, is probably going to get me some staleness, but it's just so I can buy a little time. And it's a tough call what I want to do with inspiration. I think in this case I'm actually going to try fascination, but this might come back to bite me. Oh, and let's go back through the white door just so we can get more goodies. Okay, so now we've got old unhappy far off things. This is of course kind of nice because I'm just going to be able to start churning out Mystique almost right away. Pain's Gate, the wound is healed as much as it ever will be. A gate of pain and possibility remains. So in this case, Porter now has has a level of knock. This will actually be particularly helpful in terms of summoning things like a Callagine. You've been playing Warhammer Inquisitor, the ARPG game. Is it any good? It didn't quite capture my imagination when I first saw it, but that doesn't really say anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I think Laidlaw is my best candidate because we are short on Forge. I feel like I'm going to use Forge more than I'm going to use Edge. The reasoning is that we should be able to deceive or seduce in most cases. Edge is sort of the last resort. And so in this particular case here, while there are a lot of Forge challenges that get solved by Lantern, I do actually only have 2 Lantern followers, and so the Forge winds up being a little more expendable. So Children of Silence, Laidlaw, Icy Atmosphere, and we'll add the White Ceremony. So Laidlaw has begun to understand the limitations of ingenuity and the power of sacrifice. They actually made a 2.0 update patch that overhauled a lot of the game. If you didn't enjoy it before, try it out again, or possibly just read up on what got changed. Also, Chainsaw Swords. I haven't actually played it at all. It's because there are exceptions to this, but I actually tend to get rather bored by ARPGs. Like, a lot of people really like Diablo 2, and I'm sure Diablo 2 is a very good game, but I never finished it. It didn't actually hold my attention long enough to get all the way through it. I have completed Diablo 3. I do rather enjoy that. But even then, like, I find it quite easy to just move on and play something else. I've also been playing a bit of Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn seems pretty good. And I do know that Lottie likes ARPGs, so clearly we need to ask for a $1 million Kickstarter budget for a Secret Histories ARPG. All right, Lord Franklin Bancroft was initiated into the arts of the Flower Maker by the Rose Witch Fiona Ayrshire. He rose to become a society provider of occult services and secret pleasures before his abrupt disappearance in 1790. Well, Surely nothing bad will happen if we read this book. Bancroft seems to have been a talented adept, but devoted his energies to frustratingly whimsical projects, arranging grape-fetching races between mantis spirits, teaching percussagants to juggle, and conjuring storms of imaginary blossoms for the rose witch Ayrshire, who resolutely refused ever to couple with him. Bancroft spends 20 pages bemoaning this last. Stay with me on this one. A game where you play as the fire. Is this a reference? Yeah, this is a reference to the game jam, isn't it? I thought that was a legitimately good game. I think that was the best idea that we came up with during that hackathon. But clearly that was a bridge too far. One thing I did do though, this is just an indication of what a manipulative and terrible person I am. In order to at least like show the range which we were thinking, I was like, we knew that like the head, like the very top of where I work, was going to visit and see what was going on. So I did a pitch again. Like the pitch went great. Like people were I think they were very surprised by sort of how well I clean up when it comes to like presenting something to someone in a senior position. But I did add very casually, I'm like, because like the fire idea had come from the conversation of the person organizing the hackathon and the head of the organization. So I'd mentioned is like, yeah, we actually tried to do something like what you'd mentioned to David, but the result apparently just was too upsetting for most people. Now, who isn't going to say, what was that idea in response to that? And that's exactly what he said. So I said, well, and I let him know the fire idea. I didn't actually get a good read in terms of what the reaction to it was. But it didn't there wasn't suddenly a hush didn't fall over the room, save for the sound of a single glass falling and shattering on the floor. Yeah, it was fun. So I did indirectly get to pitch the idea to the big boss man. They did really like they also had kind of a deputy with them, but I think both of them liked the actual idea that we had. So I sound like someone who's always cleaned up. I'm wearing a suit right now. It's the only way to stream. Anyone who wears anything less than like a collared shirt with a tie is not a professional streamer. The present pleasures will end ill for them. Perhaps they'll think it's worth it. Meanwhile, we can pass. I don't know. Sean's seen me. Sean knows I am not a particularly impressive specimen. I'm telling you, I'd play the crap out of my game. Your default answer for things is really, did you set it on fire? Yeah, I mean, as a game, it's the one that like is the most gamey, and it's one that clearly works for the reasons that like Plague Inc. work. But it's also one of these things where if you consider sort of the reputation of where you're working, it's also one that's really difficult to sort of justify, oh yeah, of course we put money on this thing. Okay, now I have a tough call ahead of me. Because in one sense, you know what, I think I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna just coast on my reputation even more. Of course, I'm gonna be losing even more mystique doing this, but I'm gonna paint with a fascination again. That's another, actually, you know what? I'm gonna let the fascination decay. And I'm going to paint with the restlessness. Now I'm of two minds about it, but I think in this case here, it's better for me just to defuse that bomb. I don't think you're up on this this fire game pitch thing. Can you get filled in? Yeah, sure. Sean says, you say that, but I'm fairly certain you had a button-up last time I saw you, versus you wearing literally a copy-paste t-shirt jeans outfit every day. I mean, that's what I like to wear. No, you're right. I was actually wearing it. That is actually one of my nicer shirts I think I was wearing the last time I saw you too, because I didn't have time to get home. And I seem to remember I was like presenting some preliminary work, which then, come to think of it, I also then went and presented preliminary work at Dirty Rectangle. So yeah. No, you don't need to find the tweet, Velkin. I can say it. So Casual Nothing, we had this hackathon at work, and basically it was like this gamification thing. So one of the things that had happened was the head of the organization. So when the organizer was trying to pitch this hackathon to the head, the chief, the whatever you want to call them, because like we have chiefs, but they're not like the chief, but like essentially they gave their thing, and, they said it, and then the person was like, oh, I was thinking that they might try, and I think he gave something like, there's a natural disaster and they're trying to escape, and then we'd take the data for the routes that people would use in the game and use that for an analysis or something like that. And the person organizing it was like really really impressed by that recommendation. And so they said, if you can come up with something like that, keep in mind that the top of the hierarchy will be coming and listening to your pitches while you're doing this hackathon, and they may like it enough that you don't need to do the rest of the hackathon. So in that spirit, like, there's data sets that we have at work, but the thing about this is like, to make an idea. So another example of this would be, there's this game which they were able to crowdsource a bunch of protein folding, because they were able to come up with a mapping from like protein folding and the rules for that into like this kind of match 3 style game. And so as people were trying to like play the game and optimize their outcomes, they were sort of getting, it's almost like a Monte Carlo simulation, except you've got humans doing the work. You're not like, burning a bunch of processors to just do all of these calculations. So, and of course, depending on how you set up the game, people are going to follow certain paths of thought, because when you play a game, there are some quote-unquote, obvious things you should or shouldn't do. And so apparently there were some genuine discoveries that had happened as a result of being able to get people to sort of do this free work. And so I'm like, oh man, like what kind of a game do we have like data for, can come up with something for the players to play and would actually yield a useful insight. And so, like, in my opinion, the thing that makes this work is you kind of want this adversarial situation where generally what you want to do is you want to have like the rules of the game be the constraints of the real world. And you want essentially the players trying to reach this outcome in as efficient manner as possible be sort of the insight that you're gleaning, because obviously people are all going to try their different paths and sort of collectively they're going to figure it out. It's a lot like doing experimental econ, to be completely honest. And so the idea that I came up with was basically you play a forest fire, that we would take all of Canada and we would take sort of the distribution of like wooded areas and whatnot, and the locations of different like stations to detect and fight fires and whatnot. And essentially the idea would be that you are the fire, that you try to like start a fire, and the goal of the game is to make it as big as possible. And then, I mean, it can be like Plague Inc., like maybe you get a certain number of points to like start them or something like that. But then, of course, through people playing this thing, you'd be able to find out, like, okay, so here are sort of the gaps in terms of the coverage of what we have. And of course, some of the parameters that you could change would be things like weather. And of course, you build a cost structure in place in terms of maybe what your climate models might say or something like that. And as it happens, there are models in terms of forest fire, there are models for climate change. And so you actually have sort of a ready set kind of groundwork that you can lay for a game like this. And that ultimately it's just a matter of doing, you go from raw data to something that people could like play on a phone or a computer screen. And then when you go from the phone or the computer screen and you get people actually trying to make the biggest fire, then you just kind of take all the telemetry and you try and derive a useful insight from that. My big criticism of that idea, by the way, is like, why can't we just get a computer to simulate this? And this is the big challenge that I have for any game that wants to try and derive data from that. The protein folding game is a great example of one that works for that, because protein folding is computationally expensive. And in the end, to actually have that intuition that the player brought to it was value added. But I actually happen to know that we're computationally constrained at work, so this would be a case where we sort of wind up crowdsourcing, some of our cycles to people. But like, everyone hated that idea. They're like, I don't want to play a game where you're the fire. And like, then they said, it's like, well, let's take that idea, but let's pretend you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to give away money, and we're going to solve poverty this way. And I'm like, I don't want to play that game. Like, you guys are insane if you think that people don't want to play something like that. So anyways, yeah, so that's the story. Valken loved this idea. And God tier dude, how are you doing? I absolutely love that emote. Good to see you. I'm done ranting, but I think it was Casual Nothing. Casual Nothing wanted to know what this forest fire game idea was. But yeah, so let's like. I actually, so like, as far as a game is concerned, I don't think it is as good of an idea. As far as the ideas we came up with for that hackathon, that was clearly the best game, and was actually in line with some of the goals that we had for the project. So yeah, exactly. It is very Plague Inc. Now I have to make the game myself. No, what I need to do is I need to give, like, you didn't get a good day back? Well, I wish you a very good day, or even an evening. I will, in fact, wish you both. But it's good to see you nonetheless. I didn't know that you wanted a good day. I thought a hello would. Would be enough. And a comment on the emote. Actually, the octopus is one of my favorite. I like octopuses a lot, but is it an octopus or a squid? What does it say? It says squid, but that looks like an octopus to me. What was I going to say? Right, so what I need to do is I need to up my presentation skills and make it a little bit more concise. And what I need to do is try and come up with some silver-tongued devil pitch to not actually make me make the game, but rather to get the collective wisdom of Dirty Rectangles to implement the fire game. Which brings me to my very convenient shout-out. So in addition to the hello, good day, not goodbye, god damn it, no. In addition to a good day, good night, good riddance, I got a chance to shout out Sean LeBlanc, who's been here, has a very fun itch.io page. And I think probably if I hadn't been... Oh, sorry, Sean. I didn't actually see your chat message inside here. That is, yes. I'm glad you saw it. I was very amused when I caught that. Anyways, guys, if I didn't spend time talking about my own game, I probably would have taken the opportunity to open up the itch.io page and to play one of the fine games that Sean has on that page. I really like it when he presents at Dirty Rectangles. I actually just like getting these little notifications every once in a while. Actually, apparently Google started marking them as spam, but basically every time Sean puts something out, I like to check it out, or at the very least I make a note to go on there. He's very good at coming up with sort of these short little games that sort of say what they want to say and get out. He's incredibly inventive in terms of his use of Bitsy. Like, he has made that little engine do amazing things. I've always sort of said that I imagine that Sean is going to do so much modification of Bitsy that, yeah, Google just can't believe that someone would make so many things. Clearly a bot. I always like to imagine that like one day Sean is going to wake up and he's going to be using Bitsy, but it's going to have some like Unity interface, and then he's going to have to like put a C# script on his object before he can do anything. And then I'm just going to hear off in the distance somewhere, "What have I done?" But until that day, please do go check out his stuff. In addition to him being very supportive of the Cultist Simulator streams and other streams, he's a very talented game designer, and maybe the thing that you wouldn't get to see, he's actually a very gifted presenter. Like the way he unveils the stuff that he's worked on is extremely entertaining, and it is as much of a delight to watch him present this stuff as it is to actually see the end result. So I always like taking the time to get you guys to go look at it. I don't actually have an individual title to recommend right now, so Sean, if you would like to tout... Oh, we're going to see the chalk effect at play here. What game do you think that these fine people should check out? I'm thinking maybe like the Judgment one, the tarot card one, but maybe you have another idea. And I'm going to go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Hey! All right. This is good. I can afford to have damning evidence for a while now. I've learned something that will earn me a favor once only. This will preserve you or a follower from imprisonment, but it cannot be relied upon. Last night, I dreamt of a blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the Bounds. I listened to the mistress of this place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively, after what they tried to do to Christopher. But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. Salvage duty. Hey, salvage duty was pretty good, actually. I think that was one of the few that I don't normally like going up at the front, but I seem to remember I got to try that one out. I thought that was really good. The taste, that particular taste, the taste which is neither fair nor foul, it comes to trouble my mouth again. My tongue will swell, my lips will blacken. The elixir has set its spores within me, and only dead flesh can quell them. If you guys want to try salvage duty, if you go to that link that was on there, I believe it is the game with the, it's sort of got that sort of a dark and light blue. It's sort of got this almost isometric sort of view of sort of a space wreck. But yeah, salvage duty is a good one to recommend. So do what the author says and check out salvage duty. I command you, chat. Now shed your blood as the sun's blood was shed. Now your past is divided from your future as the wolf was divided. You were not born, your service ends only in dissolution. Arise in silence. Okay. Let's think a bit about what I want to do. So if I use Fascination with Miss Nania, I'm almost certain I'm going to wind up... I'm going to wind up with an extra Fascination. Let's... this is not really the smartest thing for me to be doing, but let's just turn in the commission so I can get that out of the way. I think I can finally do this commission. I still want to be generating Mystique, though, so... I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So again, this is largely a Mystique play. Okay, so I am going to send Porter into the maw again. Colors of the Night, we will spend money. The mantra here recorded is a high and exacting magic, which can be used to pledge one's spirit to the Watchman, beginning an ascent to the house. Bancroft boasts his ability to recite it when in his cups. He has also set it to music for a performance with fireworks at the Vauxhall Gardens. We have another unmerciful mantra on our hands. Okay, I have nothing to study. And I won't have anything to study with the delayed delivery. A barred door, a cramped space, a hidden cargo. Alright, this is actually going to get really complicated for me in a bit. So if I fail this, kind of sabotage, maybe is the best term, it's going to go poorly. I should probably be working on my expedition, or my dreams again. Okay. The Watchers here were guarding crates sealed with thief-singed ribbons. This was not a lawful operation. The owners of this cargo may not be pleased with our meddling. Okay. So I don't have that much as far as expeditions to do. So we've got more rose pearl dust. We've got Gradon oil, which is a pigment. Okay. Stained gloves, we got a second of those, and funds. So if I want, I can of course use the stained gloves in certain rituals, but I'm always a bit of a hoarder when it comes to my possessions. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. So against my better judgment, oh, this will help me with the despair. So that's good news there. We've got 4 notoriety, and I suspect we're getting some pretty high staleness, yes. But what I'm going to do to dodge the possibility that a notoriety gets picked up a little too early, I'm going to go for one more heavy, sort of banking on my reputation painting. This will probably, like, explode my staleness. I've begun to repeat myself. The higher this grows, the greater the impact on your work. Producing the very highest quality work will gradually reduce staleness. So in this particular case here, I'm going to, you know what? I know Sin probably isn't going to be around, but we will do a painting of Neville in her honor. I bet... Oh. Yeah, I'd need to find a second... I need to find the right influence for it. So again, the risk here is that I've gone a little too far, and I've just set myself up for a world of pain if this fails. But this is a risk that I'm kind of willing to take. If I want to go for corpses, I can, but let's maybe wait for the bad guys to stop inquiring. What I might be able to do, though, let's take my pawn and let's get him to search the city. My minion is returned. The evidence has been destroyed. I am a little safer. Okay, so that's good news there. I have a lot less that I need to worry about, so I'm going to take the opportunity now to recruit Enid and Victor, as well as try and bring some more people into the cult. So, Enid speaks softly, and sometimes her gaze doesn't focus on anything visible. It may be that you've dreamed the same dreams. So, we're going to add Enid to the cult. We'll do the ceremony. I can actually just get rid of the fascination this way. And we will take the white ceremony. This one is ready. So I didn't have that much time to wait on the... I didn't really have that much time to worry about in terms of the fascination, but it's convenient to get rid of it. A hireling. I found someone whom I might pay to enact regrettable necessities. Now, I don't think getting the hulking fellow at the moment is really worth it, so... My recent work has accrued modest fame. My paintings have reviewed well. Now, what I'm going to try and do here, because we don't actually have... This is not... this is a fleeting reminiscence. This isn't restlessness yet. I'm going to take all this mystique and glimmering and whatnot. So I'm going to let the notoriety get scooped up. We are now at 2 staleness, but as it turns out, we wound up with... it doesn't say what the quality was, but we obviously did well because we made a lot of money off of it. So I want to do, so we've got the fleeting reminiscence. What I want to do is I want to convert this into restlessness that I can use on my medium job. Now I've got enough money, so I'm okay there. Really, I'm going to want to wait a bit to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. So one of the things that I'm going to do, because I can sort of afford to relax a little bit in terms of funding, what I will do is I'm going to take the chance to get this commission done. So this will give me enough time to do the recruitment. I'll be able to convert this into restlessness, and then we can go back to my reputation as a medium jobs and just produce a bunch of mystique. Of course, maybe I don't need to really worry about maintaining the mystique anymore, because we obviously have some notoriety that the Suppression Bureau is going to pick up no matter what. So with that in mind, let's take the commission. So Dr. Ibn al-Adim, called the Alapine, has offered you a commission. He would like you to provide him with a very substantial investigation on the severe mysteries of the Lantern. So Lantern 6 and 2 reason, because only smart people like Lantern. And we'll carry on. So this is going to take a minute. This is going to afford me enough time to get my recruitment done. I'll be able to convert the fleeting reminiscence into restlessness, and I believe I'll actually be able to no, I can't turn in the commission on time. So I'll have a little bit of slack, but I can probably receive a new commission. Less reason for me to go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight right now, but let's go anyway. My emotions run higher than usual. There will be things that there are things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I am closer to them. So at some point when we go into the Mantis, I'm going to want to start getting some more influence so that I can summon some creatures, particularly if I want to start going through these regions here. But it is worth remembering that we just got past a bit of a scare in terms of getting arrested. So in this particular case, I just want to play it cool, and we can worry about sort of mounting some expeditions. As long as I'm able to sort of maintain my current funding, and as long as I don't think that I'm going to be running into a situation where, I'm going to have to put all hands on deck in terms of getting some, cult members working on tasks, we can take our time. We should be able to go fairly quickly in terms of getting the next batch of expeditions up. But I do sort of want to deal with this investigation right now. I think probably what I want to do is deal with my hunger, because we're going to have possibly 2 runs of the graveyard mouth back to back. I've got 1 tick right now. We'll get a second from this, and we'll be up to 3, and I believe we can't get it to 7. Otherwise it causes problems. So, I don't really need the favor from authority. There is an argument for getting the winter influence, and obviously we got the winter influence from the white door, sort of the front of it, so there is a good argument for me to keep doing that. Alternatively, I can say my higher priority is to get the influence that'll allow me to summon creatures, but I'm not actually convinced by that at the moment, so we'll carry on with the white door. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that I can do with study at the moment. I don't have any influence, and I don't really want to... I mean, if I wanted, I could maybe double up like the Ecdysist Parable. Let's see what that's going to take. Glimmerings. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. And I need a Fascination or a Rarefied Mind. Unfortunately, I have a Silent Intensity, so had I been a little more thoughtful, I probably could have used that Fascination to beat this challenge. And I've got the Unmerciful Mantra. That would also need Fascination, alternatively an HQ with a Library or a Rarefied Mind. Of course, the other way of thinking about this is maybe I want to change my headquarters to the unattended church. Like right now we have the temporary headquarters. Here we go. Our business is private. We could use somewhere more secret. So maybe I want to change to the unattended church. Oh no, the unattended church, I think a church has the sanctuary, I think. No, I don't think these have a library now that I think of it. Okay, well, we'll hold off on upgrading the lore for now. I will speak only and exactly 9 words. The novice will speak none at all. So Enid, a believer. Enid speaks softly, and sometimes her gaze doesn't focus on anything visible. She sees things that others don't. Now, I've got 43 seconds, so first... Oh, Madame Bichet is not ready to give me another commission. So we're going to wait. We're just going to let this tick down to 30 seconds then. Okay. So they found the notoriety. Regrettably, this is the oldest notoriety, but can't have everything. Wait, where'd my cult go? Right here. There we go. That's what I meant to do. So yeah, we'll just kind of hold the line here. At some point, I'm going to take Porter to deal with the evidence that comes out of this, but... Oops, I was a little late, but that's fine, so... Miss Nanya's eyes are thoughtful, so this will change to restlessness shortly after. And Season of Sickness is coming up. Unfortunately, the Vitality will likely be... We likely won't get another, but... Better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. So I think for this one, I'm just going to send the pawn back in and see if we can find anybody interesting to get rid of evidence. Out of curiosity, God tier dude, are you still around? I don't know if I've offended you or something. Okay, we've got a very substantial investigation. Miss Nanya acknowledges that all will pass, even memory, but that memory can be passed like a torch or a treasure. So the mystique is less important. This is really just a chance for me to start getting a bunch of money, but I've got my restlessness now. It's fresh, and I don't see any reason to not use the work verb right now, so I'm going to just keep hammering that. And in the meantime, I do have a little bit of time, so we will turn in the quest. We'll turn in the commission for Adim, and then I'm also going to have a chat with Madame Bichet about the next commission after we turn that in. And then I think I will start aiming for. Right, actually, I'm going to try and get rid of the evidence, and then I'm going to start aiming for. I'm going to start aiming for sort of things to bring through the... bring some influences in to upgrade my followers. So, last night the white door was as bright as a mirror, bright as fresh snow, bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it, and I still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. Okay. So let's say... It'd still be nice if I can get some more people upgraded, so I am going to keep hammering on the white door, and we're just going to wait for this to finish. I think I'm not going to risk... Well, I mean, 10 seconds isn't that long to wait. Okay, Street Space Strange by Moonlight is nice, but I probably have better things to do. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip, so... Another way of getting Mystique, of course, is by finishing off all of these quests, but of course one of the ways that I'm generating Mystique is through my reputation as a medium. So in this particular case here, it's not as, in my opinion at least, it's not as helpful in terms of generating Mystique. I have a much more reliable way of generating it every 30 seconds rather than 10 seconds to get the commission, 60 seconds to fulfill the commission, and then another 10 to talk to the patron. Let's get the commission from Madame Bichet. Overlooked place. All right, Madame Bichet would like a commission on Forge. So let's start by upgrading people. Now I can't remember, I feel like we didn't have enough to bring Eau Claire up to the highest level, but let's just double check that. That's right, we are short by 4. So I believe everyone in Grail is as high as they can go. That's also true of Moth. I believe that is also true of Lantern. What am I doing? This is the question. Do I want to bring Tristan, my last level? Okay, there's no reason for me to do this, but I am actually going to go left to right on this setup. So, but we're not going to discuss business with them. We are instead going to upgrade them. And I'm doing this purely because it looks nice. There is absolutely no gameplay reason for me upgrading Tristan because I already have my 2 level 5 Forge. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Tristan dislikes distractions. Tristan likes results. This is really just me using the explore verb as opposed to letting it be idle. There's really no reason for me to be doing this right now. There is, however, a reason for me to keep hammering at the restlessness on the medium job. Okay, so there's the tentative evidence. I am certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Shifty woman, it's not worth spending the money to find out that they're not as good as my existing Moth followers. Hey, that's convenient. Last night, the white door was as bright as a mirror, fresh as snow, and bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it, and I still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. Okay, so we're going to hang on to this for when the recruitment is finished. I think that's also a great reason. Okay, so it's going to be 30 seconds before I get my health. You know what? We'll wait on this. I'm not in any rush to go back through the white door, so. Dublin Pappy. Are you trying to advertise other streamers in here? Who is this Johnny Big Time you speak of? Is it perhaps... Is it this command you're trying to bring in? The streamer that Dublin Pappy is referring to is the wonderful Johnny Big Time. I think he's still streaming right now. But Johnny is a very talented and very amusing streamer. Oh, it looks like he isn't. Johnny, again, he's got an amazing sense of humor. So I shared, there's someone who doesn't get a chance to stop by the stream that often, but is a friend of the streams. Her name's Lady Dow, and she does do some streaming on her own. I've played Elder Scrolls Online with Johnny and Lady Dow, but she has not seen the A Way Out playthrough with Johnny, so I sent her that video, and she was in tears by the end of it. Like, she really enjoyed that broadcast. I obviously love doing that broadcast, but that's really just an indication in terms of how much better Johnny will make any given stream that he is a part of. So if you haven't checked him out, he's currently doing the Witcher series. I believe he's on Blood and Wine, so we'll be finishing that soon. His whole deal, he likes to say that he started streaming so that he could deal with his backlog, and then he started playing The Witcher, and he went from The Witcher 1 to The Witcher 3, not realizing how ridiculously long all those games are. And so his backlog has only grown over time, but he is in bed. Is he hosting me? Oh, hey, Flobe. Speaking of streamers, Flobe is also a new streamer. I was watching him playing some League of LOL. And I was playing League of Legends, and I was saying silly things about teamfight tactics and whatnot. Hey, Lady Dow, great to see you. Lady Dow is a stealth streamer. All right. I don't always get a chance to do this, Lady Dow, so we've got a few good people in here. So Flobe is just starting out with streaming. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he said you started streaming basically because you're playing a lot of games on your own, and you figured it was a good chance to basically do some broadcasting on your own, kill two birds with one stone. I should mention that I met Flobe because he was streaming Cultist Simulator. I believe it was added as part of like a Twitch thing. If you add like Twitch Prime, you get free games or something along those lines. Everybody's got this subscription service now, so I don't remember exactly how it goes. Yeah, I feel really bad. I did not know that Johnny was hosting me, so I thought the notifications were working, but apparently I am an idiot. The funny thing about them was when they did Cultist Simulator, they accidentally won. And so the journey was a little bit different from what most of us have, but I think he said he was going to play the game again. But one way or the other, if you guys like small casts, especially ones that are at the beginning, Flobe was there. Flobe actually also very kindly directed one of his viewers to my neck of the woods, so it's beneficial for me. On top of that, there is Lady Dow. Lady Dow has been playing a lot of... It's Star Wars The Old Republic, right? Not Knights of the Old Republic. Anyways, the massively multiplayer MMO. And in addition to being somebody who I've been enjoying some chats with recently, is actually somebody who is quite a good, decent streamer on her own. Doesn't do it very frequently, or at least when I watch, I don't get to see it. I seem to remember one of the first things I watched you play was Outlast, which I really enjoyed. But Lady Dow is a big fan of Johnny. I don't want to say a big fan of mine, but I'm a big fan of hers. That doesn't mean that she doesn't like my stuff. It's just I can't say that. It's like if you walk up to someone and say, you're my biggest fan. But all of these are good people, and if you're looking for new channels, you should check them out. I can say it. All right, that makes me happy. And of course, Dublin Pappy is Johnny's henchman. He is here. I am incredibly disruptive in Johnny's chat, so Dublin is here to make the walls of Jericho fall. Now you shed your blood as the sun's blood was shed. Now your past is divided from your future as the wolf was divided. You are not born, your service ends only in dissolution. Arise in silence. Tristan will do what's necessary to create. Sometimes one must first destroy. Alright, Eldridge is up next. Eldridge has almost learnt not to pick his teeth while with his knife in conversation. He has not yet learnt to leave his knife in his boot. Sorry, I just got a quick message from Eyes of Sin, which I need to reply to. This is such an exciting stream with me spending so much time typing off camera. Now, see, I've got a really important thing going on here, Valken, which is if I create the impression that if she doesn't visit chat, then everyone hates her, then that just gives her a reason to come by again, so... Alright, Eldridge is now becoming a better Eldridge. My own heart pumps more strongly today, so vitality. Apparently we're getting even more. We've got more Grail. Of course, this is purely because I mentioned the Eyes of Sin, the place behind desire. Is there something to be learned from the satisfaction of desire? And we've got our restlessness back. So, where was I? Oh right, we haven't got the disease yet. Lady Dow, thank you very much for that host. The illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I'm fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds or vitality. Now, it looks like the police have taken an interest again. This is going to be a bit of a riskier one for me to deal with. I'm actually going to sit this out, and I'm going to let what happens happen. If the best case scenario here is that these expire on their own, and this notoriety, this is the one that gets picked up. That's one too many good things happening to me than I think is realistic. But I am going to allow for the fact that I have someone who can eliminate the evidence when the time comes. Of course, my alternative was I could have tried distracting the weary detective, but I'd rather not earn notoriety for that. Okay, so I know I'm going to get rid of at least one of the expiring notoriety. Let's just send the pawn back out again. If I wind up with a high level, moth henchman, I'm happy with that. But again, that's a little hopeful. I am, of course, going to keep cranking out the mystique. So professional muscle's kind of tempting because I could use them to try and take out the weary detective. But I'm not quite ready to be so brazen. I could, of course, also try to... okay. I thought that got the notoriety. My heart stopped for a minute, but I'm back. I'm alive. So I'm gonna send Porter to try and deal with this evidence. Now you shed your blood as the sun's blood was shed. Now your past is divided from your future as the wolf was divided. You were not born. Your service ends only in dissolution. Arise in silence. Eldridge is waiting patiently until it's time to knife someone again. Okay, let's say Victor. Let's get you into the cult. Victor is a sly fellow, and he knows an unusual opportunity when he sees it. So by the end of the stream, if I can, I'd like to try and start getting the second tier of locations investigated. But the reason why I'm going to hold off on that, it would be nice to make sure that I've sort of diffused any notoriety and evidence, because it would be much better if I could use these moth followers to deal with obstacles rather than, take on more menial annoyances, menial tasks. And then, of course, I need to do the summonings, but the summonings aren't as difficult. So now that's the big question. Do I want to try the white door to do some more upgrading? More upgrading is actually a decent idea. Or do I want to try and bring these summons in? I think as long as we have the threat of an investigation, I'm going to keep trying to lay low and get my people advanced. And then once we're ready to sort of emerge from the shadows, we'll start summoning the alien gods, or at least manifestations of them. So, of course, we're down to one notoriety, and it's nestled amongst a bunch of fancy mystique, so it's looking optimistic, but of course you only need one notoriety to get the case built against you, so we're not going to celebrate until this thing actually burns up. Victor is a sly fellow, but loyal, and look at that mustache. Okay. Now, as far as talk is concerned, we've got 30 seconds for us. So even if we wind up with the winter aspect, we should still be good to use it. In this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a chat about the Forbidden Epic. And we're going to bring some more potential bodies into the cult. So as before, we're just going to keep generating mystique and generating money. Okay. We are safe from any further evidence. So it does raise the question as to whether or not I want to try and destroy this tentative evidence, because right now the bigger risk to me is that one of my people might generate the notoriety. Of course, the other challenge is that if I don't do that, let me think. Lodge of the Sage Knight. Story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Exploring with the scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations on the continent. Okay, I'm actually going to do something a little counterintuitive now. So the challenge that I have is that because this notoriety is going to go away, I don't have anything for the weary detective to find, which means that they're going to burn through all of my mystique. And this means that if I want to start to actually produce, or if I want to start doing this exploration, I'm going to need to find a way to get rid of this investigation. Otherwise, the first time I go to a location, I'm going to get notoriety and it's going to get scooped up by the detective. So I'm going to stop doing my job as a medium for a little while. I'll hopefully be able to time it so that I can turn this fleeting reminiscence into restlessness, and what I'm going to try and do instead is I'm going to try and get rid of this staleness. So, last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them anymore, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come here for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard in my Carisham days. You're welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Okay, so dreaming. I'm still at a point where I want to try and upgrade followers. So we're going to throw the health in here. I'm going to sit on the fleeting reminiscence, hoping that I remember to use it properly. And instead, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my skill, I'm going to add a bunch of passion to it. And of course, this will potentially generate fascination, but that's life. If I want to burgle something, I can talk to this entry consultant. So I'll still pay for the paints. If I wasn't worried about notoriety, I would potentially be able to try and do a special painting. It's a little early for that, and I would rather get the notoriety for going to these locations. All that I am is here. It doesn't look like we've generated fascination for it, so that's good news. Glorious work. If I never touch another canvas, I have earned my place in history. And apparently I'm feeling pretty content after that. So we have another fleeting reminiscence. That's decent news. My recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. Okay, I did get fascination, but I have a way of getting rid of it. So we've got contentment, glimmering. There's more mystique, which isn't great, but okay, so we got our money back. I wasn't expecting that. We still. I have made what the game has said is a work of historical significance, but apparently I'm still repeating myself a little bit. All right, fair enough. I don't have the passion to be able to crank out another one of these right now. So let's do manly work. Unskilled labor like the mountain. Now again, if I had the influence, I might try to study the fascination, but in this case, I'm just going to double it up with the fleeting reminiscence and diffuse that bomb. We more need to worry about dread, but that won't be a worry either. Let's have a chat with my pawn, get them to search the city for anybody who can do terrible things. And we've got a subtle fracture, so this might be an opportunity for me to try and summon something. Clouds part, walls creak, old wounds ache, a 6th order influence, significant resonances, or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. So this is a time I'm willing to try and summon something because it, having a nice high power knock influence isn't something that you get every day. And so in this case, I want to try and make the most of it. And then what I'll do is I'll just try and juggle different ways of handling. So for instance, I can maybe try painting the thing that I summon, and that will keep it around long enough for me to be able to use it in these expeditions. Or better still, I can actually summon something like a Callagine, and then I can get that to take care of the evidence rather than risking my other moth follower. Because of course the problem is that if Porter gains another wound, what happens is that I'm potentially risking him or Yzabet each time I go and try to get rid of tentative evidence, which can unravel the playthrough pretty quickly. Last night in the great pavilion above the grey sprawl of the Bounds, a woman who once called herself Teresa Gallimer sat on gilt-fringed cushions and offered me a horn cup of dream wine. The wine is imaginary, she explained, but the cup is not. To navigate the Mansis, one must understand the distinction. Perhaps one day you'll join me on the pilgrimage, or I'll join you. So here, let us share a secret. And her breath tickled my ear. Okay, so first things first, let's take our fleeting reminiscence and our fascination and get rid of that potential threat. Looks like we've got another mentor on the way. I'm assuming this one's going to be Jannings. I don't think there's anything I can study about with the fracture. Yeah. Alright, Street Strange by Moonlight is not exactly my favorite find here, but I'll live with it. We can learn from each other. We have found Count Jannings. Now, of course, we did just gain some more mystique, which means that Douglas is going to be investigating longer, but I can't control that. Okay, so, talk. If I'm going to convert the fleeting reminiscence... this is a hard one. Okay. So, if I want to try and convert the fleeting reminiscence into restlessness... I have to do that now, because if I talk with a Secret Histories or something like that, that's going to take 2 minutes to bring someone in, and I have 90 seconds. Thing is, the fleeting reminiscence will last for 180 seconds, so I am essentially committing myself to this treadmill to preserve it. And I think it's better that I just let nature take its course. I have other ways of earning money if I need to. I won't use it in the job as a medium, but I might use it to paint, depending on the circumstances. So I'm going to take my Forgotten Chronicle, and we'll speak of esoteric matters. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. And what I'm going to do... Obviously, it's a shame that I'm not able to do much with my study verb right now. Oh, damn it. You know what? I keep forgetting. I don't need to get rid of the fascination that way. I can use the fascination in the Ecdysist's Parable. That would have been a perfect time too, because if it grew, I still would have had 2 fleeting reminiscences to get rid of it with. I need to remember that. Anyways, let's say yeah, we'll stick with not doing anything for the study. They say I can do the job of any 2 others together. It's not quite true. Not quite. And let's summon something. So we've got the Sunset Rite, so we'll start with Subtle Fracture, and we need an Invocation, an Assistant, and a Desire. So I am rather tempted to get rid of this tentative evidence. So let's start with the Callagine. And if we add the Grail... Saliba, get in here. Summon a creature of the Red Grail. I found a useful... Wait a minute. That's a raw profit. The Callagine is Forge and Winter? I found a useful conjunction of aspects, but I will need more power to call this smoky, tricksy entity. I'll need a significant power of Forge as well as a little Winter and Knock. Okay. The alternative I have would be to bring Valsine in as the assistant and to add the Winter here. Unfortunately, it looks like Valsine doesn't quite have enough either. So the other possibility that I have is to summon the dead. Edge is made in the mirror, I'm almost certain. Yeah. Huh. There are the dead who do not descend or ascend, but who remain in the mansis and dream of winter. The power of winter, along with a little of heart's warmth, will draw them here. Now, the risk of the voiceless dead is that they decay into winter aspect, and that can be a bit of a liability. As it happens, this is the one of those very few times where it's advantageous, because of course now I get myself a slightly more reliable source of winter influence, which I can convert into the ability to recruit someone, or at the very least I can put it in as part of the recruiting process. And that's just a nice little side bonus of being the Children of Silence. Incidentally, I know there's supposed to be like a special ghoul version of the Children of Silence. I'm just not sure how to obtain it myself. Not that I've tried particularly hard, but the summoning is specifically to deal with evidence, so I am going to carry on with potentially improving my cult. Although, of course, by the time we deal with the evidence, it may just go away on its own. Another scene of suspicion coming up, but the mystique will carry it through, so I don't need to worry about it. The summoning is struggling against my control. I could use reason to dismiss it safely, which is always reliable, or I could try and reassert control with passion, which is not reliable, or I could let what will happen happen. In this case, I'm going to use reason to sort of ward it off, pronounce the words of dismissal, seal the circle tight, erase every trace. Now, the reason I'm doing that is I don't really... So it's nice to have the voiceless dead, but it's not a requirement. Learned something that will earn me favor once only. Last night I dreamt of the blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the Bounds. I listened to the mistress of this place speak of other visitors. Sorry to bang the mic. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively, after what they try to do to Christopher. But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. So again, for lack of anything else to do, I'm just going to continue exploring here. Now again, the reason I was comfortable dismissing the voiceless dead is because this tentative evidence is going to go away on its own soon enough. It's gone, we are safe. And I am ready to paint again, so let's throw all the passion we can in. No doubt I'll wind up with some fascination, but of course I don't have to fear fascination anymore because we'll just use that to double up the... Where did that chilly atmosphere come from? I'm not worried about it because we'll be able to use it for something, but... Might have found somewhere unusual. Oh, you know what? It probably came from the summoning. I didn't know it could do that. Come with me. So we've got another hanger on. Nope. It's not ready to be recruited yet. Now, I don't believe I have enough to... Oh, that's right. That also results in Mystique. So I don't believe I have enough to be able to upgrade someone to another level because of that. But let's, instead of assuming that, let's double check, because I know every time I've made an assumption in the game, I usually kind of wake up and find out, oh, turns out I could do that. Yeah, so perfect example. Promote a believer by invoking Winter. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Now this is actually rather interesting, because I don't believe I can use vitality as an influence in a ritual. I'll double check that though. But this potentially gives me access to some more Winter. Let's use that pawn again. So if I'm allowed to use something like Vitality in a ritual, let's do that again. All that I am is here. That means that I've got another source of either the Voiceless Dead or at the very least the Winter influence that drops when they go away. And that will be potentially quite powerful for me. Okay, Icy Atmosphere, I can work with that. Last night the white door was bright as a mirror, bright as fresh snow, bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it. I still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. So of course this will be used for an upgrade. Yeah, we generate enough sort of vitality. My recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. There's the Fascination, which I am not going to throw away this time. I don't know what to do with all my passion. Just like life. The more. Okay, so this was really just kind of... I wanted to get rid of staleness so I have options. Let's think a little bit about the next few moves. So, Icy Atmosphere to upgrade... I can't upgrade Eau Claire. Clovette's already up, but we will improve Leo. I am going to see... Okay. So I'm going to double up the Ecdysist's Parable. Yes, because I have both. Oh! I should have looked at the whole board. All right. Well, I will at the very least see... So does this... Ah, okay, so I can offer my vitality as part of the ritual. That's even better. So we're going to do the same invocation. We'll take the White Ceremony. You've already got the heart, so in this case we will add Neville. And that's the trick. I don't have enough... That's just one heart, so I should have thought a little more carefully about that. Okay, that's fair. What do I want to do with the work slot then? It is a little tempting to paint, but that's just going to improve my mystique. So in this case, I'm going to do a more mundane job and just do some heavy lifting. Alright, Victor. Victor has sharpened his cunning to a concentrated point. I probably should have read his text before, apologies for that. But I will not make the same mistake for Leo. Leo is an earnest sort, but he's prepared to do what he must. So the advantage of all of this is that, in addition to the summonings that I'm going to be bringing in, I'm going to be able to supplement them with a stronger cult. It'd be nice to bring Enid alongside. It would be nice if I had more Winter followers, but by and large, actually for everything but Winter, I'm going to have enough to overcome any challenge. Into the night. Wisdom is a country, and these are its maps. Solve all the challenges of both fragments of lore to complete the research task. You can return to a task later if you fail. I suppose if I'm feeling particularly bold, I can try another painting. I would normally do that, but I think in this case, commission makes it. No, a commission doesn't make sense because then I'm going to get Mystique as a result of that. So actually, as ridiculous as this sounds, I'm going to try and get Fascination by painting. And I've got Restlessness right on cue. Some dead are lost in the woods, some rise higher, but many, so many, pass through the white door into the house and become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance, our mouths were healed wounds, their eyes roamed my skin, their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burnt and they drew back, their urgency infected me. So what we're going to do here is we're going to wait for the passion to work up. Okay. I actually don't know why I did it that way, because I'm just going to be unfolding that to go into the painting. Now, really what I'm doing here is I'm very deliberately trying to generate fascination from making a particularly good painting. And that's just to deal with the puzzle. But in this case, this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find these pieces in the odd corners of scholarship. Again, nothing for me to do with the Explore verb other than look for through the city, so we'll see what comes up. Although there's no excuse for me not using my dreams. Now you shed your blood as the sun's blood was shed. Now your past is divided from your future as the wolf was divided. You are not born, your service ends only in dissolution. Arise in silence. Leo still yearns to preserve what is good and valuable, but he understands that to protect one's ideals, one must sometimes do questionable things. So Dorothy and Enid are the two remaining people I'd like to bring into the cult through traditional means. I am going to bring the hanger-on in just because this is an easy way for me to buy some time. We'll, as always, pay for the paintings. And again, this shifty woman doesn't really have enough talent to justify the hiring, and in 3 minutes we're going to lose the tentative evidence anyway. So if we don't generate any more mystique, we still know that we'll get past the investigation. I believe this will turn into a new fleeting reminiscence if memory serves. Visions abate, the solidity of the everyday banishes phantoms. I tether myself to the everyday. Alright, my recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Again, we continue to exhaust our passion. I have generated 2 mystique for that, so that's less desirable, but manageable. Where did my 4th passion go? Did I only put 3 in? No, I was just taking them out. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I am IRL generating fascination. Okay, work. I think just continuing to pick up heavy things and put them down again. A pawn, this one is loyal but lacks initiative. I can of course upgrade the pawns, but that is really the last resort. There's no reason for me to be focusing on that right now. Sorry, what I should have done was that forge commission. But before I go looking for any other goodies, I think it's time for me to just collect a bunch of commissions. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I am sane if that means anything. No fascination drives your visions. It's over for now. So we'll add the fascination. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in the odd corners of scholarship. So one of the rare times I've wanted to generate fascination, and it turned out, Count will pay for information of interest. This time he'd like a very substantial research on the corporal mysteries of the heart. And we might as well chat with Adim because I have a feeling we're going to do a little bit of a research tour. Well, I said I wanted fascination. Light leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. Now, I can actually make some use of this, so Last night, in the billowing blue of the Lodge of the Sage Knight, I sat on velvet cushions and watched two dead contend with shining swords. They came with the place, said the woman who rules here now, the one who once called herself Gallagher. I was not the Sage Knight, if that's what you're wondering. He went higher in the manses long before I came here. My attention has drifted. The swords sparkle like falling water. The dead move like dancers. Okay, so no season of visions coming up, which is good news. And I'm going to continue going through the white door. So I'm going to use the fascination to double up the unmerciful mantra this time. And Dr. Redeem would like a commission on Lantern. So now I can afford to start using the Forbidden Epic. Well, I can use any of these, but Forbidden Epic to bring in some more recruits. Okay. So now, I mean, I've got enough money. I actually have slightly less than when I said, okay, we're in a good place for the expeditions. But at this point, Spintreo are slightly more important to me just because I don't have that many. Oh wait, but okay. I am going to write the commissions, but I'm going to submit them when the investigation is done. So this is banking some. This is actually banking the work rather than performing it, or then turning it in. Okay, Pawn's not really turning up anything exciting, but it's not like we're gonna use the shifty or the expert swindler on tentative evidence. At least not one with like 3 seconds left. Of course, the experienced swindler shows up now. I've begun to notice the colors of the world, for which I have no name. I'm trying to think what spawned that. Oh, no, now I understand. So this did generate a new fascination. So I am going to have to do something to get rid of it. Fortunately, the timing did turn out. Let's go back to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Forgotten Chronicle, nothing too exciting there, but... Oh, I'm going to need an erudition, though. Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them anymore, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story that I heard in my Carisham days. You're welcome to it. Only remember it if you make the pilgrimage. Okay. So I got 40 seconds to deal with this thing. I am going to run this timer out a little bit to make sure that I do actually wind up with fascination. One of the worries that I have is I do need erudition, and it's not at all clear that I'm going to be earning that through traditional means. I've increased my mastery of the lore of the wood, which we call by its aspect moth. So we've got the Molded Warp admonitions now. Good news. I've got far more fascination than I can deal with, though. This would actually be enough to end a run here. So let's say the newest fascination dies. I'm going to get erudition first. So the world is awash with printed words. Even the newspapers contain knowledge sometimes. And had I known that I would have 3, I probably would have taken that restlessness and turned it into dread. Okay, similar story with Forge. There are other things that I can be doing with the work slot right now, but I did say that I was gonna do my best with my commissions, expecting that this would go away at a certain point. As far as erudition is concerned, I think taking the minute to generate it through study is probably the most practical way of me getting that. It's possible I might get it from Strange by Midnight, but I think it's also possible I get a fascination out of that, and I'd rather not run the risk. Right now I'm okay because I'm gonna have time sort of roll on. But if a Season of Visions comes up, it's particularly troubling to have sort of 2 in the chamber right off the bat. Also, at some point, I need to deal with this remembrance. I'm just on the verge of the halfway point of in terms of the graveyard mouth. I'm sure at some point I'm gonna earn that. The thing to remember is that you can get 2 seasons of ambitions one after the other for the purpose, like as far as graveyard mouth is concerned, you can get the ambition trigger and essentially the next one that you experience could be another ambition, which is as good as getting 2 in one go, because you're probably not going to be responding to that effect soon enough. It is worthwhile. I don't know what happens if you get to 7. It might be something that you lose, where you lose. So if I'm feeling particularly brave, I can use this peculiar rumor. I am not feeling brave though. So that was because we don't have any patrons left, but we almost certainly have potential disciples. We at least have another winter. And then, of course, the hangers-on. The words contain knowledge, and now I contain it. It's a little like theft, a little like feasting, and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. So, I said we were going to double up the unmerciful mantra. There's a proverb among the practitioners of the invisible arts. Glory visits the house without walls. I would like to know about glory. Also, I didn't actually read Moldy Warp. Moldy Warp keeps her crowns in keeps her crowns in the moss and her feet in the dirt and trees locked jaw tight. Moldy Warp has these warnings for you. Okay, so I'm getting my commissions in. I'm just trying to think if there's any advantage to me working the job. I'm gonna have vitality to deal with the disease. Nope, I think I'm gonna do the heart commission. Especially too because there's of course the chance that I generate the vitality from that anyway, but it'll take me a minute to generate, so it's not that useful. That's heart, that's not reason. Let's go back to the... There is an argument for me to start using the forbidden epics to try and just get those next areas in the queue, but the challenge with that is if I do wind up with a rival, then they start stealing things from me. Alright. Fortune Teller's not bad. You know, having some Moth and Lantern... Moth and Lantern is actually a really decent combination. It's helpful against Guardians. It's also helpful against... you know, like secret doors and whatnot. Lantern is a rather useful aspect to have on expeditions. But the thing is, it's spending money, which I don't really have that as much of now, for something that I can already get from my existing followers. Alright, so they want erudition, I guess? Yep. So this fascination might actually run out at the time that I need it. If I'm particularly daring, I suppose I can try, you know, painting. It's probably better for me just to go to work. Alright, now I definitely need to start dealing with the graveyard. Sorry, I just gotta grab some water. Okay, so we're getting to the end. We're obviously getting to the end of the investigation at the moment. So I I did sort of say the fact that this investigation was going on was the reason why I wasn't making any effort with the expeditions. That reason is gone now, so I'm going to transition to going through the stag door to get the higher level influence, potentially something to summon with. If we don't have any creatures that we can bring along, that's fine. We still have a reasonably a reasonable cult, save for the winter aspect. Even then, I can add another 4 winter just because Yzabet has gotten the wounds, and my pawn isn't wintry enough yet. But anyways, we have some stuff that we can bring to bear if it really comes down to it. So I'm very slowly going to start sort of bringing in the things that I need to turn the to turn us back into expedition mode. Okay, so unfortunately I'm not going to... I mean, I can try... No, I can't. There might be a way I can cheese that fascination out, but... Well, in this particular case, while I wouldn't normally do it, I am going to use the Street Strange by Moonlight because... Well, actually, painting would also give me that fascination. Another Course of the Heart, always nice. Yeah, why not? It's not exactly going to pay the bills, which is kind of what I need right now, but... I do need inspiration though, so I can do vitality. Actually, yeah, I can go for broke and use the multi-warp admissions. In this case, let's take Yzabet. Mostly just because that adds even more moth, and I'm really curious what happens in that case. Okay, Slee is in here, so we've got another lantern fellow. Craig Slee, the astronomer and avant-garde poet, has developed an interest in esoterics as his health wanes. So Slee isn't enough for me to... oh, that's right. I add Mystique. I can't go searching for people. All right. Well, that's still giving me time to look for beasties. What do I want to do with my talk verb then if I'm not looking for people? Well, I can at least bring Slee into the cult. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have the fascination in time to complete the challenge. Again, one of the very few times I actually wish for fascination. Subtle Fracture will be cool, though. Ooh. So we're going to be up to 5 Graveyard Mouth. Let's get that cemetery up and running. There are ways of navigating the cemetery that, like, don't result in you getting the notoriety, but it's nice to just kind of... It's nice, especially given the fact that I get very careless playing this game, it's always nice to just not set yourself up for those bonehead moments. So in this case, we'll take the Painted River, and it's regrettably erudition. This is one of the times I could have gotten fascination and it would have been good. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the White Door far through the Mansis to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. And all the while the captain and I discoursed of the secrets of the House of the Sun. Okay. I've got vitality, but I don't really have any use for it right now. Might as well add these over here. Do I want to use Dream to try and get a winter aspect to what end? Well, that would be to upgrade Enid, I suppose. Or I go through the Stag Door and hope that I get a better influence. I definitely know I can get an edge influence out of that. I think against my better judgment I am going to try going through the White Door one more time. Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen. The stars are as tiny wounds, and the sun is a hemorrhage of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. Now, one of the things about this subtle fracture is I may not use it to summon the Voiceless Dead. Voiceless Dead was so that I could deal with evidence. And obviously there's a potential way of generating some winter influence out of it, which in turn is going to give me the ability to upgrade a follower. The more practical use, of course, is to bring something in that will help me with the expeditions. I'm just trying to think if there's anything useful I can do with talk right now. I mean, I could generate notoriety with it, but I suppose the one thing I could have done, because that mystique was made in error, I could have had a chat with like Clovette or Leo or something like that to turn it into just to get rid of it, but there's no point in doing that now. All right. Overexposed. What? That's surprising because I haven't been using reputation. I really didn't want to generate that mystique either. I'm doing this all wrong. So it's time for me to just do boring jobs. And I mean, I am going to need the money anyway, so. So let's just go back. Go back to lifting things. We're not gonna... Oh, nice. We're not gonna do anything else until the detective is done. So this is not a bad time to trigger this, because it'll take 30 seconds. There's no way that they can pick up the corpse. My studies have been stymied for now. Now this is going to be a trick. So I need to make sure that I use the elixir before I try and get this studying done. I just hope that I don't have a season of visions come up. Otherwise, I'm in a bit of trouble. But I do want to make sure that I get this. I do want to chow down on this thing. Also, I completely lost my senses. I should have used that. I should have used that knock influence to summon something. I wasn't thinking straight. Well, there's the icy atmosphere, so that's good news. Last night, as the white door was bright as a mirror, bright as fresh snow, bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it. I still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. So the air crisps the skin, frost marks the glass. So this was actually a decent, this is a decent find. So we will bring Slee up to speed. So again, Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen. The stars are as tiny wounds, the sun as a hemorrhage of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. So here we take the icy atmosphere and the white ceremony, and we get a better Slee. And I'm going to use the same logic, saying that we're going to go through the white door again. It's unlikely that we'll get the same result, but we'll give it a shot. The shovel strikes wood. That's a good sign. If the coffin is too far rotted, usually the remains are scant. So, Dread is coming up next. We're safe from that for now. So let's just take the elixir. We will take a human corpse. And I am screwed. Because the ambition is taking that up. Okay, I'm just going to let this run. I'm going to leave the study open. It's going to take more than a minute. Yeah, we'll see what happens here before I go any further. And again, I'm just going to continue to do this menial labor until I until I deal with my current problems. So I'm not using exploration at the moment because it will that there's going to be basically the comp's going to be triggered in that case. In the 4.2 seconds, that's when I'll have the study open to use the human corpse. Actually, in this particular case, I should be good to use the cemetery now, because if it takes like 30 seconds, this'll all turn out. I need to be really fast on the spacebar though. Okay. So the reason I did this, we're now up to 5. Of course, we knew we were going to be up to 5, but I need to make sure that I have the combinations. And now there's no possibility that that corpse gets detected. And of course, it's going to take 30 seconds for me to consume it, as well as bring up the other one. And this is the big problem with the fascination, is the longer I wait on this, the more likely I get a season of visions. So I think what I'm going to do, I am going to do this piecemeal, but the way I'm going to handle it is... Okay, so Season of Visions is coming up. I am actually going to have to take a bit of a flyer on this one, I think. So I'm going to eat the next corpse. Then I'm going to study with the fascination. It's possible that it will be doubled up, and at that point I'm up to Season of Visions 2 and I'm in serious trouble. But I will have the fleeting reminiscence that comes from not having any dread. That will be what potentially saves me. Okay, so I've got 20 seconds after I work that. The something shameful I'm going to leave to Miss Nania. So that's partly because I don't want to generate the mystique from the medium job, but we're also at a point where it would be useful for me to start getting some of the influence that comes from that. So we will go straight for the consumption of human flesh. Once again, my appetite rises, flecked once again with the shivers of revulsion. So unfortunately, it does mean I'm going to let the cemetery decay. But the reason I'm doing that is because in 30 seconds I'm going to use the fascination when doubling up the unmerciful mantra. Again, I'm hoping that the timings on this thing works out. It doesn't make sense for me to use restlessness right now. Restlessness potentially gives me dread at a time when I could use it. Yes, I'm going to grab it. So 49 seconds, we're good, because restlessness takes 60 seconds. I might have to put a bunch of stuff on hold to make sure that it works properly, but... Slee's headaches have become crippling, but his theories grow more practical by the day. His poetry's getting better, too. Okay, so the reasoning is going to go on something like this. Did I get this wrong? No, because then I put my... Oh yeah, I think I have messed this up just because my health's all over the place. So, once I eat this thing, I'm doubling up the unmerciful mantra. If... God, it feels so weird to have so many slots open. I'm putting everything on hold because I'm not 100% sure how these timings are going to work. But basically my backups are this. In 30 seconds, I'm going to be able to study with the fascination. If I wind up generating another fascination, or for whatever reason I feel that there is a danger that the Season of Visions is going to trigger at an inopportune time, I can use this restlessness, it turns to dread, I can get rid of it through dream. They say I can do the job of any two others together. It's not true. Not quite. Okay. We'll wait the 3 seconds. I probably overcompensated for the possibility that I wind up with I probably overcompensated for the possibility that I wind up with a another fascination, but I'm not too too upset about that possibility. So Dream needs to be kept open in order to cancel out the fascination. Cemetery needs to be left open because I'm not going to be able to eat the corpse for a minute. Fleeting Reminiscence is going to go away at the time that I have the information as to whether or not the fascination is going to be useful. And then the job will determine whether or not I use the restlessness in a painting. Unfortunately, using it in a painting will very likely mean that I wind up generating more mystique, so I'd like to avoid that if I can. Actually, I've got a way. I know how to get rid of that. So it'll cost me money, but I can live with that. Okay, so first things first, we'll take the Unmerciful Mantra. This is a really, as this turns out, this is a really complicated way for me to level up this lore. Holy crap, I actually need 2 of these. Okay, so in 30 seconds, this becomes a liability. So we're gonna abort. We are going to say passion paint. Restlessness goes away here. This is hobby painting. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about the graveyard for a while this works its way through the system. Actually, sorry, no. It still makes sense because I need to get past the Season of Visions. So I've got Fleeting Reminiscence. We're good there. Trembling in the Air, we're going to wait the 60 seconds and not rock the boat. I'm not going to generate Mystique because I'm not going to use these Forbidden Epics. I'm not going to turn in quests or commissions. And I don't want to get any of my followers in trouble, so I'm not going to talk to them about any of their deeds. So what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to have a chat with Clovette. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do you need from your follower? We're going to send her on charming business because that'll help us get rid of this mystique. As a result, it'll get rid of the investigation and we can stop pretending like the game is on hold. So unfortunately, this is a wasted study, but that's, again, that was just me not quite thinking everything through. Well, now it would be fine to... Or would it? No, I'm going to wait a little bit. Yeah, because there's going to be the 30 seconds and then possibly a cooldown after. This I'm okay with, though, because it's a full minute before the detective turns over, so I think we have less than that. Okay, next up. I don't need to worry about fascination anymore, so we'll do the way to the white door and we will use health. So again, this is in pursuit of some more winter influence. Earnest speeches, affable conversation. The standards of daylight society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I have supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. No reason not to be working right now, so let's get back to lifting heavy things. Balked, my studies have been stymied for now. Okay, so I might have a problem here. I did not realize I get Mystique for doing this, so this might actually save me with the corpse, though. Or the detective finds the corpse and all of this waiting has been for naught. I did not realize that it was a full 30-second wait. Okay, they didn't pick anything up yet. So I'm gonna get Clovette working overtime on the Mystique then, because I really can't afford to be skipping the graveyard mouth. That was a lot higher than what I wanted it to be. So Clovette, please continue to charm people. So This is going to generate Mystique. There's going to be 2 Mystique on the board at some point. One of them's going to get consumed. Hopefully it's the older one, and Clovette should eat the other one. And then I'm actually not quite sure what happens. I'm just skipping reading that one because we've read it a couple of times already tonight, and it's not as important at the moment. Okay, so let me just think a little bit about what's going to go on here. So Clovette, if she succeeds, would eliminate this Mystique. This would decay on its own anyway. We'll generate a Mystique in 30 seconds. Ah, so yeah, it's actually desirable if the Mystique that comes out of the disinterment gets picked up by Clovette, and this one runs out before the... Oh, it will, because it's going to take Clovette 50 seconds. But, unfortunately, the weary detective is going to finish their investigation first. So this is definitely going to tick for another turn. Ooh, and this is going to eat my graveyard mouth. So let me just see, 5959. I got to be very tight on the spacebar. Damn it! Alright, now I am in trouble because it's a 50-50 chance that it's a 50-50 chance that the weary detective finds this body. This is now the time I don't want Clovette to succeed in her mission. Again, I should be constantly working, and I don't know why I did that. Same deal with the white door. I don't have anything that I want to try and get rid of. I am going to start turning the stuff in with Nania because the work for will eventually... Okay, good. So I can get rid of the corpse now. There's dedication, remembrance. Restlessness, maybe I'd paint with it. Let's see where the investigation goes. I'm okay getting another corpse now. Okay, actually this is going to be neat because we'll finish digging up the corpse in time before this timer runs out, so this is going to be the thing that Clovette gobbles up immediately. Great. No! Why? I was gonna eat that! The shovel strikes wood, that's a good sign. If the coffin is far too rotted, usually the remains are scant. I mean, it fits. It is a reputation. Oh boy. I'm just gonna wait this one out. Okay, I gotta get rid of the restlessness. I guess one Mystique? See, there's a danger that I wind up with a fascination as a result of this. With any luck, she fails. No one understands us, or else they understand us too well. Cool. Okay, so that is good news. So, elixir, human corpse. Oh, okay, excellent. I don't need another corpse. Excellent, because this has been a lot more dramatic than I was hoping. Obviously, I can try tracking down a rumor, but maybe let's wait for the investigation to finish before I do that. I think I might be in the clear in that regard. Yeah, let's just keep... Oh, actually, the one thing I can do is the Forgotten Chronicle. because that will finish before... Hey, I can't... Normally I would be able to, but... Actually, let me think about how long that takes. Nope, because I just need the lowest level of it. Last night, the white door was bright as a mirror, bright as fresh snow, bright as the migraine moon. I remember its brightness, but I remember its chill the most. I laid my cheek against it, and I still feel the ache of its cold in my skull. Okay, so the reason why I took this still is, yes, it'll only last 60 seconds, but it's going to decay to the next level. We've got 58 seconds on this, so after it gets its passion for the next follower, I'm still going to be able to use this as an input to an upgrade for one of the existing followers. I am, however, going to switch to the stag door because we are long overdue for going through expeditions again. The thing I did screw up, though, is I may not be able to use the something shameful. We'll see how that goes. In fact, I might have been a little premature on some of these. Because I believe this is going to stay open for Mystique. Yeah, this is going to stay open for Mystique longer than this is going to take to run. So I'm actually going to get my Mystique back, potentially with interest. And they're going to be investigating for longer. Sometimes... okay. Well, if I want to get really, really technical about it, I could do another painting right now with the Mystique. I'm assuming that would take longer, 43 seconds. The problem is that the something shameful would go away. You know what? I do need the money. I know this is going to generate Mystique. I'm just going to accept that I went a little too early on this. And I'll generate what I can. I'm gonna have to get money from the something joyful as well. Ooh, that'd be a good summon. But here I'm gonna go for the Ascent of Knives. Anger is implicit in every shape. A 10th order influence, a gathering knot of power and peril. This can be used in some rates to summon minions. Of the place my dreams took me last night, this has been written. The ascent is glass, the walls are knives, each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great. When I woke, that pain remained within me, a pain that I could employ for to occult purposes if I hurry. So again, this is another dilemma. In 8 seconds, I'm going to finish the job, and now the question is... Oh no, because it's going to take me 30 seconds to do my medium job, so I will do something joyful to get the money. It will generate Mystique. Again, I already know this dilemma. Let's go back through the stag door. I am going to use something joyful, and then I'm going to use the Furious or Air to summon something, and then I'm going to aggressively use Clovette to work down all the Mystique that I just earned for myself. Oh, I didn't generate Mystique from that? Maybe it's only when I do shady dealings. We'll see in a second. Alright, enough for now. My client's tears are welcome, even to them. Okay, we did generate Mystique here. However, I think we did just turn over... No, we still have clues, so... He is going to be interested in me. However, I don't need to be generating any more, so... Although I will... Sorry, I am going to generate a Mystique from the acquaintance. Maybe I'll just let this take its course, and I'm going to have a chat with Miss Nania about other things. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take the Sunset Rite. I'll take the Furious Air. Now, I don't have any other followers but Neville and Enid. Neville is my better knock follower. So now we say we have Lantern, Heart, or Winter. Lantern will give me a hint. Heart will give me a percussagant. And Winter, I believe, gives us a Maid in the Mirror, but I think we need very high Winter. Yeah, so that's not going to help us here. I believe that percussagants should be pretty straightforward to summon. But what about a hint? So a hint was once a living mortal and then a dead one, and now it's something else. Their summoning requires Lantern for the light which drew them to the Mansus, and Edge for which for the striving that they've endured in mirrors. Now the thing about the hinter are that they will always leave a Lantern influence when they go away. So in this particular case here, while I wouldn't normally have used this to summon a creature of the Thunderskin, this is the safer bet if I don't have a better place for them. And so as a result, I am going to bring them along. And of course, we all know what a percussagant means. For those of you who don't, and I know there's only a few of you right now, you will find out. Okay. So closely watched cemetery, I'm okay with that. I do need to make sure that my chilly atmosphere is being watched. Here we go. Oh, you'll see in just a minute. Jian Jack. Okay, we've got a hanger-on. Again, that's not the most inspiring result that we could have got, but it's not bad. I think... So Tristan's been taken care of. Slee is already at the level that they need. I think I'm just going to take all these pawns and put them at the top here. So I think we're up to Dorothy. So Dorothy... There we go. Actually, I think we can get away with the White Ceremony now. Nope, it is the Declining Sun. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Dorothy is an enthusiastic sort. I have turned her enthusiasm to our advantage. Alright, so this is going to take the minute to run down. I'm fine with that. 40 seconds, we get the Thunderskin, and at least one new person figures out the deep meaning behind why I get excited every time I summon a percussagant. Not much for me to do with the Fleeting Reminiscence right now. Normally I'd like to use it in the medium work, but one, it's already occupied with summoning something, and then of course number two, I'm trying to wean myself off of this mystique that I keep carelessly generating. Forge is helpful for the Callagine. What are my other potential options? Painted River, I think, is only good for Secret Histories and Fascination. And the Ascent of Knives gives me Edge, and I think sometimes Grail? I don't remember exactly. I know this is all available on a wiki somewhere, but it's still interesting because I get to learn stuff each time I do it. So the possibility of Sparks, a 6th order influence, the signs are unmistakable, can be used in some rites to summon minions. This might just be... Oh no, because I only have the Arden Orison. So yeah, it's possible that we'll make something of this. So, what do I want to do next? I could use my Explore with my pawn. I mean, I guess the thing is if I really play this ruthlessly, I can just hire people and sacrifice them to summon something. I don't actually think I'm going to use anybody that I hire, so let's just leave Explore on its own for now. I think I am going to go through the Stag Door again. And I don't have anything that I need to study at the moment. Of course, I'm sorry that this one's wound up being a little more of an extended cleanup episode. I am kind of hoping to get the your headphone speakers are 5.1. I was kind of hoping to do some more expeditions, but I realized that I've been trying to clean up the business from the investigation. So we've got to clean out Neville. Let's take out the waking chant. Sunset right goes where it goes. So the canonical sound of the percussivant being summoned. So go in close. First the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin like a clawed and ruthless uncle or a headless flapping bear. The percussivant, it loves the sistrum's shiver, it loves the thrum of the tympanos, it recalls with fondness the flaying of Marsyas, and so it will not stop dancing. Percussivant, everybody. Say hello. I will have whatever input I have to my next ritual in 20 seconds. Yeah, all of the I mean, like, I'm still forever going to be... Oh no, we've got the Trembling Heat. That's right, I need to use this right away. I'm still very much Team Lantern, but I think the Heart has some of my favorite writing. And percussivants are just wonderful creatures on their own. I wouldn't want to face one down. Obviously, I've used them to some really terrible ends, but... Alright, so... Ah, crap. Cool. Works. Forge for the smoky spirit summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. I think our only other option is to actually bring, like, King Crucible in. Yeah, no, that's not happening. So, let's, Well, you know what, Sickness? I'm not scared of you, because summoning that percussivant just put a little... You know, my toes are tapping. In 30 seconds, I'm going to have the vitality I need to combat you, so... And in 30 seconds, I'm finally getting rid of that infuriating mystique. So, you know what? We are actually ready to go on our expedition. So the question is, do I want to wait the 46 seconds? So I'm just taking a minute here to think my way through. Nope, we're going to go to Gverin. Gwer Inn. On a crumbling cliff above the Grey Sea, the Gwer Inn squats until the day the sea comes for it. It receives few guests, fewer since the owner closed his notorious library to visiting scholars. Now, if I can think of one of these ones that has, like, the curse where you need heart, that might be a little bit better. But in this case here, I'm gonna bring what I can, and we'll deal with the consequences when they emerge. We can reserve rooms at the inn easily enough, but we can expect the locals, if they divine our attentions, to turn nasty, and if the library is still there, it will be well hidden. So this is absolutely a call for someone with lantern. I've got 8 edge, so we'll be okay. In this case, I'm going to bring Pope Clifton along, and then if the time comes, you know, I'll have a clearer idea of what we need, and we can add heart, edge, lantern, or something else as the need arises. Because I protect my percussivants. We have an understanding. Dorothy's enthusiasm has become obsession. She will not cease, and how she loves to dance. So, Miss Nania. Let's talk about something shameful, shall we? Today, Miss Nania's eyes are almost shy. Well, if I want to summon another Caligine, I suppose that's an option. Let's go for the Painted River here. Cool. The attention of the hours is drawn to the bloodiest wars. Afterwards, the histories are braided like hair. There is a great chamber in the Mansis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails and flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So I think I'm going to carry on this this path. There's really not a lot more for me to do with my dream right now, and this potentially gives me access to more creatures of the night. My study is looking very lonely because I haven't been generating fascination, and as a result, I haven't been able to make much of my circumstances. I am kind of happy I didn't get some kind of influence, because I know Miss Nania is going to give me one in like 30 seconds. I also hope she doesn't give me Mystique. That will be very sad if it does. So Vitality is good to deal with this. Oh, that's right. I should have kept the dream open for that. That's fine. I do want to be earning money, but until this thing crosses past the 30-second mark. Okay. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. So mortals, perhaps even ordinary mortals, but quite a number of them. They could be fought, seduced, or deceived. Obviously, Edge allows me to fight them, and is the most logical. And an engineer or an adept will have ensured that this door will not open easily. Forge or knock will defeat it. So this is actually a problem, because I had thought it was a hidden door. That was what the description said, but it is a barred door. So clearly we've got kind of Forge is the most expendable in the fact that they've got the numbers. I don't really want to give up Neville, knowing that he's really my summoning machine here. So Valcine will lead the charge. Miss Nania says nothing, but the intimacy of the moment is very pleasant, and the serenity lingers. I've got some contentment. Not exactly what I need in the moment, but it does. I mean, again, I'm trying to get something useful out of these memories. So, Miss Nania's eyes are shrewd. It'd be nice if I can upgrade the Unmerciful Tantra, but I'm not going to go out of my way to generate the fascination right now, especially with this up. Not all of Forge's children are bright. Its offcuts and its bastards gather in the bounds like hammerscale in the cracks of a smithy floor. Here comes one now. Okay, so this changes things a bit. Valcine, you're out. Caligine, you're in. At the corners of the forge, in the bounds of the Mansis, the glory's fire meets baser elements. Here is a cunning vapor to infect your enemy's dreams. So still not quite what we need, but of course I've got fewer of my own people at risk on these expeditions now. The illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I am fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds or vitality. So, my greatest challenge now is not to screw up the investigation that we're working on right now. So I'm not even going to allow myself the possibility. We're going to go do our moving job. We're going to pick up heavy things and we're going to put them down again. And we will make sure that we put on an appropriate amount of like oil or lotion or whatever so that we look particularly comely while doing so. Oh, awake, they're upon us. That way, quickly. All right. Well, it sounds like we're going for deception here, and this I'm potentially losing Elizabeth doing this, but look closer still. Closer! Keep looking. Closer. Now close your eyes. I kind of like, there's no reason for doing so other than when the game puts a priority to one particular approach over another. I kind of like going with the flow on it. So, now the subtle rupture is an interesting question here. In terms of summoning, let's think about what I can bring in. A hint would be good for edge, but the hint carries the cost of the fact. And again, I'm assuming that I have the resources that I need to summon these things. So the drawback to the hint is that when it goes away, it leaves Lantern, which will turn into Fascination. A Maid in the Mirror will turn into Winter, which normally would turn into Dread, but for me, it actually turns into an upgrade for a character, so that's reasonably good news. What else can we bring in? I'm mostly just thinking in terms of things that have, like, practical use to me, because, like, I can obviously bring in, like, the Voiceless Dead, but the Voiceless Dead kind of have the same consequences as the Maid in the Mirror. And we've already got our Callagine. So, like, Callagines are kind of safe. I mean, a Raw Prophet, I suppose. I'm trying to think if there's anything that a Raw Prophet really gives me that any of the others don't. Thing is, though, I'm a little worried if I do the Painted River, I get Fascination. So actually, I'm going to risk it on the Ascent of Knives. I do think a Raw Prophet would not be terrible in this lineup. But I'm really curious what the Painted River would have given me here. So I'm mostly picking the Ascent of the Knives, so I can see what the Painted River would have been. Okay. So Furious Air, I can bring a hint in. I don't think I have enough Winter for the Maid in the Mirror, so. Of the place my dreams took me last night, it has been written, the ascent is glass, the walls are knives, each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great. When I woke, that pain remained with me, a pain that I could employ to occult purposes if I hurry. Alright, so first things first, let's get rid of our disease. Miss Nania says nothing, but the next day I receive an unexpected package in the post. And let's close it out with the something joyful. The good news here is that in roughly the time it takes me to accomplish that, the trembling in the air should go away, which means that I'll have a fleeting reminiscence left over, and I'll be able to turn that into restlessness, which I'll use for my job as a medium. Okay, so they're only going to take evidence if I generate Mystique, I'll be safe. If a hunter has found notoriety, they will use it to create or upgrade evidence. If they're meticulous, they will always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail, but they can occasionally create evidence even without notoriety. They say that I can do the job of any two others together. It's not true, not quite. So again, the point of this really is more about occupying my work slot. So I am a little curious now. I do have the Operation of the Declining Sun available, so is this enough to summon the Maid in the Mirror? It is not, so I do. And I think I actually knew this before, but now if I wanted to upgrade this, this would need erudition or a library. I don't have a library at the moment, though hopefully we'll gain access to that. Their bewilderment is our opportunity. We'll pass in silent secrecy. And then if I want to upgrade this one, I would need... I do have Silent Intensity. So a library is a pretty high priority for my location, or my headquarters. Of course, Strathcoin's burned, so presumably we can't use that library. So I just want to double check that I'm not missing... Oh, that's right. This is what I use to subvert stuff. Okay, so Lantern gives me the hint, Heart gives me the Percussagant, Winter gives me the Maid in the Mirror. None of these I really want. A second Percussagant, like, it wouldn't hurt. You could never have enough Percussagants. But there are actually better things for me to do with my work verb right now because I do actually want to earn money. So in this particular case, as much as I would love to do the Percussagant summoning again, I think in this case I'm gonna do the really boring option and pick up heavy things again until I can get my my career as a medium back on track. All right. This game really wants me to summon a percussigan. Miss Nania says nothing, but all the way home there's a tune in my head that leaves me thinking of her. Rising power, a reassuring energy. We'll see how I feel about this when my job is done. Nah, actually I can't. I gotta do the medium thing because my fleeting reminiscence isn't gonna last that long. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I am sane if that means anything. No fascination drives your visions. It's over for now. So I gotta chat with her right away so I can get that turned into a restlessness right away. There is a point where I would actually like to try and start generating fascination again. I'm safe now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. Another season of suspicion coming up. Of course it is. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. I think Valsine is up. The sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. I'm just trying to think, is there a way that I can otherwise occupy the weary detective while I try and convert my restlessness back? I don't think there is, so I think I'm just going to have to hit Miss Nania with that twice. Because again, I don't want to wind up with a notoriety out of this. Oh my god, we actually might get the notoriety in the time. That's actually quite likely we're going to generate that notoriety. Well, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I can't put the playthrough on hold forever. The worst that happens is we wind up with a bit of evidence that the Callagine needs to mop up. Like it's. I am, however, going to try and preserve. I'm going to try and preserve the restlessness for me to do the medium. So I'm not going to go out of my way to generate mystique, but I am going to. I'm going to try and dodge the season of suspicion on this one. We'll almost certainly shatter this warded door. I mean, it's 13 forged. There's not much else that I can do about it, and adding any more people potentially risks them, so. Trembling heirs, so sorry. I wanted to summon the Pergussigan, but not at the expense of other good things that can happen. Okay, so this fleeting reminiscence is just going to hang around for a little while. I've got a second one, of course. If I want, I can use one in the reputation as a medium right away, and then I can use the other to convert with Miss Nania. But we'll see how it goes. So I believe there is a minute of this nonsense. So let's just go pick up heavy things again. And in this particular case, I'm going to take a bit of a flyer and say it's possible we'll wind up with fascination from the Painted River. I don't really have much else to do with my study verb, and we do not have a season of visions coming up, so. Got it. Light leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. I dreamt of the mansis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, and the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I'm awake, I see those colors still. So that paid off. The question is, do I still want to keep going? I think going through the stag door still makes the most sense because I do ultimately need to get those forbidden epics. It's even less about summoning stuff now and more about. Okay, I also know that I'm safe from the investigation right now, so All doors must open as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. So I think the way I'm going to handle this is searching for clues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this job to finish. I'm going to use one fleeting reminiscence in my job as a medium. At the same time, I'm going to convert the other fleeting reminiscence into a restlessness so that I can continue to earn money. That work is basically going to finance the expeditions. That's going to give me sort of an influx of books to read. So this was really the last chance for me to try and upgrade this lantern lore. If I didn't do that, I'd essentially be reading all the books that I find from these locations. So it turned out. Obviously, I couldn't have known that the fascination would have come in there, but I believe if you see a Secret Histories at the Stag Door, the Painted River has the fascination. It may be that I've just been very lucky, or I've only noticed when that combination comes up, but I think that's actually a consistent outcome. Well, we can test for the next time, I suppose. But okay, so let me just think this through again. 25 seconds, so he's going to move on to clues after that, so I can't afford to do all of this. If I screw this up, I am going to be very upset with myself, but... Okay, so these are going to finish at the same time. Into the Night, Wisdom is a country. These are its maps. Solve all the challenges on both fragments of lore to complete the research task. You can return to this task later if you fail. All doors must open as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. No point in putting anything else in there because we're going to be unlocking all the treasures. Okay. Breathe in. I am safe now. My adversary is not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they have found no new clues. And coming up, another season of suspicion. That is going to suck. Well, I'm going to have the mystique. I'm going to have the notoriety. There's no two ways around it. So this will distract Douglas long enough for me to get either Clovette on the job or... Yeah, there really isn't a good way for me to like, when the Season of Suspicion comes up this way, there is actually no good way for me to deal with the arrival of notoriety. Something for me to ponder. No. Yes. So what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about my commissions, because at that point, I can at least I can lead them on a wild goose chase. Wait. Okay, yes, I did get I was like, I didn't get Mystique from that last seance? I don't understand. Challenge Illumination. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. Provide fascination, which may breed. Use a library or employ a rarefied mind skill. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So if I was on a big upgrade sort of adventure, all of these commissions would be kind of the perfect fuel for that. But at the moment here, I'm just really getting Spintrea and Mystique. Okay, so in theory, behind the Painted River, there's going to be Fascination, which I don't want to generate because it's possible I wind up with 3. Yeah, okay, so it is potentially a Forbidden Epic as well. Now, Urgency of Appetite's kind of interesting because I can summon a Raw Prophet with it. The Ascent of Knives is called the Sharp Stare, and the Mother of Mirrors and the Feast of the Grail. If one is to look beneath the stare, as I did last night in my dreams, one understands that last name. It draws a tithe of blood from the feet of those who ascend. Impausi, some shaped like men, many shaped like women, wait beneath the glass of the stairs to satisfy their hunger. I did not approach, I made no sound, I only observed. So, what'll be interesting is to see what happens to the fascination afterwards. There actually might be a decent argument for me to convert the restlessness back to fleeting reminiscence to deal with the fascination. We'll see what happens in the next couple turns. So again, more Mystique to confound the weary detective. I can, of course, talk to the weary detective, but that generates notoriety itself, so that's not exactly a permanent solution. No reason for me not to be going through the stag door again, so we'll get that done. And I'm curious what happens once this study is done. Light in the skull. Whenever the principle of lantern sheds its light, I may recall additional scraps of knowledge. Alright, so, the room is bleached and quiet. The chairs are pale wood. The table is topped with white marble. A low draft blows through the ill-fitting sea-facing casement. In winter, it must be insupportably cold. A white-painted glass case holds a shelf of books, wrapped oddly in coils of copper wire. Some of the books are exotic 18th century pornography. Others are botanists' journals. Some, however, have value for our studies. A yellowing note tucked into the spine of one reads, "Watch for me, JC." Obviously a reference to Jesus Christ. Okay, we didn't lose Elizabeth, so that's already a good day. Percussiget and Callagine are around. Now, there is a bit of a dilemma in the fact that I know I'm probably going to have to deal with evidence soon, but it feels wrong to just leave the Callagine hanging out like this when I can put them onto another expedition. So in this particular case, I think I'm just going to move on to the next one. I'm not going to let the weary detective completely... I mean, this is the reason the Suppression Bureau exists. They have the threat of coming to get me, and that way they're preventing the advancement of the, of the dark arts. So no point in... no point in letting them have their way. So we have those who do not sleep, a Fusine text attributed to the mystic Broadnax. So, I do have that, so I can translate it. The Shaven Lock Tantra, also known as the one who has shaven his hair. This, the story goes, is the lore that even the shape-changing Vantra is rejected. We've got On Matthias and Amethyst Imago, Lost. The diagrams and illustrations, even across the centuries, are elegant, hypnotic, occasionally erotic in Aramaic. So I do not have Aramaic yet. Gildersleeves I can sell. So we'll put that down here. And the Concursum Diaries, the diaries of the explorer and murderer Lars Westergren. He's unhelpfully translated them into Frisian for privacy. We're definitely not getting a Frisian tutor anytime soon. So yeah, as I said, we will throw our summons into the next expedition. They're likely going to be inappropriate for most of them, but it is a way that I can preserve them. So we prepare for the descent. We bring rope, tools, light. We arm ourselves against anything down there that may yet move. Here the Romans dug for silver until they reached the unsanctioned place where the names hid things not fit for sunlight. Many others have come since then. Even as the tunnels crumble, some have never left. So actually some forge might be helpful here. Alright. Let's see what I'm up against. I have 28 seconds before I find out what happens here. As opposed to what? 12 seconds before the Season of Suspicion pops up. And if I'm so inclined, I can try and distract the weary detective. I'll bribe them. I think I'm just gonna play it safe and do my job as a medium again. The raw prophet might be fun to summon, but I don't actually have a good way of fitting it into my plans right now. And I kind of feel like it'll be more in the way than anything at this point. I am still going to allow for the possibility that I convert this into a flu. Why am I not working on this right now? Oh, that's right, because if I use a Forbidden Epic, then it's out for 2 minutes, and I might need it sooner than that. I will wait 5 seconds to see what comes after the Season of Suspicion. Okay, Season of Ambitions. So we're not out of the woods. Obviously, there's the possibility that there's going to be a Season of Visions that pops up. But for now, I feel a little bit safer locking up my talk verb. Dusty facts have come clear in my brain, for now at least. Okay, well, sure enough, we generated more fascination at exactly the time that I'm not able to do anything about it. I can, however, turn this restlessness into dread and kill the fascination that way. What does that do to my money, though? Well, I can paint with my reputation for a bit. So that would at least stop the bleeding. Yeah, okay, let's work out a game plan for this. I can maintain myself with painting for a bit. That would delay the discovery of the notoriety. The part that doesn't work in that, though, is the fact that, like, the what do I paint with question. If I let the restlessness decay to dread, that's fine, but how do I get rid of the fascination? Okay, so 26 seconds, the fascination's gonna pop up, so I'm okay there. So I suppose the bigger question is, how much do I need to worry about the existence of fascination? I'm gonna leave it be for now. I'm gonna continue doing the medium work because the higher priority is to keep the mystique going. I am really interested in what happens in the next 35 seconds, and if it seems like I'm gonna have to deal with fascination, then I am gonna allow... the problem is that the timing's probably not gonna work out on this. It's likely gonna be difficult for me to convert the restlessness, but I have to kind of take some kind of risk at some point. I don't think the Painted River's gonna give me what I want, but... The Painted River runs through the great chamber near the White Door, far through the mansus to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. Alright, we're getting close to midnight, so I think what I'm going to do is... Oh yeah, I should actually be paying attention to what's going on in here. So I'm pretty sure winter is off the table for dealing with this. So Edge and Forge is the way we get through the expedition. Okay, so I think I'll do my best to finish the expedition that we're currently on, but basically I'm going to add an Edge and Forge follower as needed. I'm going to see what comes up with the passage of time. If it comes down to it, I'm going to use Dread at the very least to deal with the fascination. And then I think we're mostly just going to accept the fact that the weary detective is going to find something. Okay, this is good, because this is going to give me some restlessness to either work with or to eliminate the fascination with. So I've increased my mastery of the glorious lore, which we call by its aspect Lantern. The Fainean invocation. The door in the eye navigates. He is not merciful, but first and always he illuminates. Okay, Fascination 1, Fascination 2. Let's start reading these books. Let's start translating these books first. Shavenlock Tantra, you're up. There is an interesting question, so... Yeah, I think it makes sense to just keep going with them. I was just trying to see, is like, do I want to let this thing run down for the 8 seconds? It's like, well, no, because anything that happens in the 8 second, like there's nothing that this restlessness can directly affect. If I do wind up with a season of visions, one of these things is going to get consumed. And the way that I will handle it will be the second one will get killed with the old unhappy far off things. Okay, season of suspicion, so I'm in good shape. Also, I don't remember having this many, like, verbs on the table. It feels like this playthrough is the one where we got pummeled. Oh, cool. I apparently completely ignored my my expedition and everybody got through. All right, I've been paid my fee. It's difficult to say whether I've earned it. Fortunately, it's difficult for them to say whether I've earned it too. So, of course, the nice thing about the medium is that you can always generate more mystique than is naturally removed through through an investigation, but that is not always a desirable thing. So the way I'm going to handle the fascination here is when this is done and this restlessness decays to dread, assuming I don't wind up with like a season of despair, I'm going to eliminate this fascination because it's the newer one. This one will probably go away on its own. Okay, if I want to summon something, I can use the subtle rupture. If I want to do something, anything else, I think I'm going to risk the painted river again. Well, you know, just a little thing that can end the game for me. That's not a problem, is it? I am slightly curious at this. Hey, cool, I can go through the spider door. Do I want to right now, though? I feel like I want the lore still. The taste, the particular taste, the taste which is neither fair nor foul, it comes to trouble my mouth again. My tongue will swell, my lips will blacken. The elixir has set its spores within me. Only dead flesh can quell them. Okay, so the obvious answer now is to bring someone in. Roars, you're up. Please do us proud. We've prepared the text for study. In this case, because fascination is a liability, I think I'm going to try and translate those who do not sleep first. And I think probably reading the heart book first is better, so I've been paid my fee. It's difficult to say whether I've earned it. Fortunately, it's difficult for them to say whether I've earned it too. Again, making money, making mystique, and generally buying ourselves some time. Okay, restlessness is coming up. Another old and happy far off things. That's decent luck, to be completely honest. So if I am so inclined, the restlessness here makes more sense to turn into dread. Really the question at this point, so restlessness to dread for sure, but this one might be faster to turn into a fleeting reminiscence, depending on what I do with my talk verb. So 30 seconds, then 30 seconds with Miss Nania if I do wind up with a restlessness. Is there something else I can do with my talk verb that I think is more important? Definitely not bring the hangers on. There's no point in getting Clovette to talk about how nice we are, because that's more likely to remove mystique than anything else. So yeah, I think I'm going to wait a little while just so I can eliminate the fascination, and then we're going to be back to trying to bring more people into the cult. That, of course, also generates mystique, but it generates mystique every 2 minutes. Our strength is matchless. The dead are as pale as inverse shadows. They move like cobwebs in a breeze. Almost certainly they can't stand before us. We'll send them mumbling back to the shadows of the wood. So I'll say this one goes away on its own. This one we will worry about last. And then this is the target number 1. As always, we turn our restlessness into productive work. Okay, let me think about this. So I'm going to need, well, I am actually going to need a minute anyway to get rid of the fascination. So yes, it makes sense for me to talk to Miss Nania about this, one way or the other. And we'll be done with fascination. That'll get rid of all of them. Oh, here we go. When the dead return to us, they use what matter they can if their bodies are gone. Dust, rust, cobwebs, scraps, and tatters. Now that we have broken them, these tatters are all that remains. Alright, let's read Those Who Do Not Sleep. The mystic Broadnax discusses the origins of the Sister and Witch and of the Thunderskin. The Sister and Witch were born in 2 wombs, one poor, one rich, across the sea. The sister was stronger in the aspect of heart, and so their survival was assured. The witch was stronger in the aspect of grail, and so they were not satisfied. So the dread is my bigger liability here at the moment. I kind of want to get that dealt with. Wait a minute. Yeah. I need to actually start paying attention to how I do certain acts. I get worked up with what the next plan is going to be that I actually forget to implement the one that I already had in mind. So, Forgotten Chronicle, we're going to try and bring somebody into the cult. We're going to wait 30 seconds, and I will actually use the dread to get rid of the fascination this time. And fortunately, the Season of Visions can't hurt me here, so... Now we are going to get a second notoriety. It's possible that we'll actually wear down this notoriety before the Weary Detective can do anything about it. But again, I want to make sure... As much as I can, especially while I'm doing these expeditions, I would like to stay on the treadmill of generating as much mystique as possible. It never really works out that way because there's always something to sort of interrupt. But this is this setup for the medium feels like it's a fairly decent one because you get to keep your summons for a long time. If I get fascination, I'm going to be so upset with myself. I'm done. Dreamt of the mansis behind the white door, of the space above the orchard, the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail on the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I am awake, I see these colors still. So... 20 seconds, one of these fascination is going to get picked up. It doesn't really matter what timer I'm on, but the reasoning I'm going to employ is I'm going to take this fascination, I'm going to combine it with this fleeting reminiscence. And I'm keeping the dread because it lasts longer. Admittedly only by 10 seconds, but, you know, it still lasts longer. And so... Crap, that's still not going to last long enough. So the reasoning was going to be that this dread gets rid of this fascination, but it won't because it's going to take 3 seconds, so that's going to be down to 36 and change. Oh, sorry, 76 and change. It's going to take a minute for the fascination to get taken up, or will it? That's a good question. It depends how long it takes for the cycle that it picks up the fascination with to go through. I'm not hopeful, though. When the Sister and Witch came from the west, the Red Grail permitted their ascension, but then grew jealous of their power. It lured the great musician into the ranks of its names, and caused him to be reborn from blood as a heart hour, so that the Grail might maintain dominion there also, but its victory is not assured. Got the formula vigilant. One who watches does not sleep. One who sleeps watches not. One who watches does not sleep. One who sleeps watches not. Got the Ray to Cease Fasting, which I won't be using for the next little bit. Shaven Lock Tantra. God knows what's going to happen here. Also known as the one who has shaven his hair. This, the story goes, is the lore that even the shape-changing Vantras rejected. The Tantra speaks glowingly of those who are prepared to abandon their old self to seek a new and higher self. It warns that once the change has truly begun, past the third mark, a return to the old self is dangerous and painful. Okay, so it's going to take a minute. Okay, we might actually still be able to use this dread. Fortunately, it's fascination that comes... If it was dread that comes up again, I have no idea what would happen. Probably bad things. But for now, we're continuing to generate our mystique. And we should be able to deal with this season of visions. Oh. Once a lady, the air is stale, the dust sifts worryingly down from the rock above, but the dead lie still. The chamber, with its chalked figures and ancient stains, looks promising. In a lead-lined sarcophagus lies the skeleton of a woman. She wasn't buried here. It looks like she crawled in to die. Something has happened to the shape of her skull, pushing out of the jaw like the muzzle of a beast. Scraps of rotting linen swathe her bones. Treasures lie among the remains of her clutching hands between her ribs. I've always wondered, by the way, with this description, if a creature like the marionette is lying in that sarcophagus. All right, Betty's blade, nice edge tool, and the cracked Wildering mirror. I should probably read these. Betty's blade. A cut from this blade will not cease bleeding until the wound is healed. One account has it that Betty was a knife-collecting surgeon highwayman in 18th century Toulouse. Another claims Betty is only the bastardization of an Arabic word for mosquito. In a cracked Wildering mirror, a deep crack runs along the shimmering metal. A forge-aspected follower could repair it with sufficient resources, or I could use up the power that remains in it. We'll opt for repairing it, but I have a feeling that won't be happening for a while. One more treasure. Caput Garret Lupinium. When a human passes beyond the permissible, they were once considered to have become a wolf. So I'm going to queue up the next expedition right away. Lockwood Fen. The reeking murk of the Fenlands is ripe with furtive life. Taciturn locals still watch the sacred places of the small and secret gods, the ones that answer prayers. So, oh, maybe the empty hospital's the one with the library now that I think of it. Anyways, we won't worry about that now. Callaghan will lead the Pergusagant. I will bankroll it with my medium work. And out into the Mudlands somewhere, we are certain, is a shrine bedecked with precious oddments. If the locals try to kill us, we are probably heading in the right direction. And I believe that will be where I leave us for tonight. So thank you everybody for watching. Sorry, again, it was a little bit more of a cleanup stream than I wanted it to be, but we are slowly making progress. And I think actually my cult is robust enough between these two summons. We're not like totally out of the woods, but I think we can deal with most of the problems that'll come up in the earlier expeditions. The better argument for me to summon something like the Raw Prophet is actually so I can free up the Callaghan to deal with any evidence. But even then, maybe I'll worry about that later. What I think we're probably going to get next stream, I will obviously incorporate this to the painting when I can, although of course I'm going to want to keep an eye on what happens to my restlessness. No doubt we'll have to deal with Douglas finding some dirt on us and dealing with the evidence. What else do I want to try and accomplish next stream? I mean, obviously just more progress, but at the moment we sort of seem to be in a point where finding these memories and putting them onto the pale canvas is the order of the day, and there seems to be a pretty direct path for us to accomplish that. We have the power to do expeditions, we do expeditions, we get the treasures, we add them to the canvas. I suspect that as the last DLC for this game, there is more going on than just finding new things to put on the pale canvas. I'm sure at some point there are diminishing returns to finding things in expeditions, but we're not at that point yet. Obviously the pale canvas is, like, right now we have a very obvious thing that we need to do with the pale canvas, and I might as well deal with that now. Moving down the line, I think my intermediate goals are to... I think I'm going to try setting up shop in the empty hospital, since it seems to be the most likely location that'll have a library. I'm not really going to worry too much about the notoriety. We already have a Season of Suspicion. It's a knowable quantity, and right now I'm going to try and generate enough mystique to keep him confused. Sometime our luck is going to run out, but that's life. Fascination might be a problem depending on what happens to this dread, but my belief is that in 44.7 seconds, The dread will populate here, and this will turn into a fleeting reminiscence, so that's fine. I am going to try filling out the ranks just in terms of, getting more hangers-on. And, just finishing off the search for more people. And now is a perfectly good time to do that because we're already committed to the fact that we want to keep the weary detective confused. So if we keep adding as much mystique as possible, we kill two birds with one stone. We get to bring people potentially into the cult. We at least get more candidates for the cult. We get that off of our list of things to do, and that is a particularly costly activity because obviously it takes 2 minutes to bring someone into the cult, assuming you get the passion. Obviously there's a chance that you get the what do you call it, the mentor one as well that needs reason. So that'll clear through that. A little less obvious where I get the next winter influence from. Clearly my winter lore is not high enough. In a particularly desperate situation, I might consider doing the white ceremony. Again, this would be, I think the dependencies would be find a headquarters with a library first, upgrade the white ceremony, then upgrade the operation of the declining sun. At that point, I might be able to consider some more activities in terms of upgrading my existing followers. I don't need to worry as heavily about influence, although obviously being able to upgrade my winter followers will still be a fairly high priority. And yeah, from that I think it's really just a matter of getting enough forbidden epics. One thing I might want to do, because the forbidden epic has clearly been, or the search for the forbidden epic has really resulted in me getting a lot more fascination than I want, I might actually consider starting to use the spider door more often, and I'll either buy people I can sacrifice or I'll just bring them in using my followers. But that's definitely a question to deal with later on in the day. There is actually a fairly decent argument for me doing that, just because in the cases where maybe my followers get a little too overzealous or what have you, I can always consume the corpses, and that way I don't need to use up my exploration to dig up graveyards. But all of these are considerations for next week, so thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to go out to the front. I know not a lot of people always watch to the end, but if you are somebody who watches to the end and you want to leave comments and things like that on YouTube, or you want to leave some comments in chat, I'm going to find somebody to host, but while I am doing that, I am going to ask a question. So I have been working sort of behind the scenes for a while on a... Yeah, no problem, Sean. Actually, so Sean, I'm not ready to say what I've been working on, but this is that thing that I showed last Dirty Rectangles. I've been working on a thing in terms of taking some of my, it's not even really econ knowledge, but some of the stuff I know about and analyzing data. Actually, so here's, sorry, I know it's like private information, but this is like the one game where it's appropriate to do stuff like that. So I should mention, Sean, like, so you asked that questions like, how would developers use this thing? So I sent the email to the person who's most likely to benefit from this, and the reply I immediately got, and I sort of says like, yeah, I don't really see a lot of applications for this in the actual design, but maybe this will be useful as like marketing or something like that. And the reply was like, I don't see much use of this for marketing, but this would have been really helpful for development. What tools did you use for this? So apparently that thing I have made to designers is helpful, and to a non-designer like me, I'm like, I don't know what you sorcerers use this stuff for. So apparently I am just really bad at identifying what this thing does. One way or the other, though, and okay, for those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, this will all come in the form of like a blog post later. So all of this is actually an introduction for something. I have been working on something behind the scenes, which is Cultist Simulator related, and it is tied a little bit into some of the things I like to do with data analysis, and it's specifically some topics that I am personally interested in, and do involve some techniques that I actually think don't get used enough in, in the kinds of subjects that I'm interested in. So I am basically one evening's hard work away from finishing sort of the pick and shovel work I need to get this thing done. And then I'm going to be doing the analysis, and I'm going to be, doing like a blog post or something like that. Now, this is something where if you like watching my stuff, or if this could be true for YouTube, this could be true for Twitch chat, I am kind of interested in some questions about not so much the lore of the game in the sense of like, what is the Witch and Sister, or what is the Intercalate, or something like that, or what the hell is going on in the background of this game. What I am interested, though, is when it comes to sort of relationships that exist in the game. So certain cards, it could be a very simple question like, what is the aspect that shows up the most on the cards? Or why is Lantern the best lore? Or, how many things does Mystique connect to? Little more simple questions like that. You can ask lore-related questions, but lore-related questions work best if it's like, what hours have the tightest bonds between each other? Things that would be answered in terms of like, here are what these, here's how I describe these relationships based on what the game has told me. I have a database that I've been building. Well, okay, the database is something that already exists. The database is actually something that Lyrazider made. But I have taken that and I've turned it into something else that I'm actually starting to do some analysis on Cultist Simulator for. And this little database that I'm using is specifically interested in how to describe the game in certain ways. And so in terms of questions like that, what's the best lore? What is the most populous type of card or something like that? Those are things that I think I could be able to answer with them. And I'm at a point now, again, I'm still speaking in very general terms because it'd be nice to sort of give you all a big surprise when the thing is ready to go. And if I don't get any answers to this, it's not a big deal because I've got plenty of stuff that I can answer for myself. But I did want to take a minute and just bring it to you guys. You don't need to answer it right away. But I thought it would be sort of neat if you do enjoy this sort of stuff and you want to talk about... it's something I've been working on for a while, Tall Man Alive. But I'm done the point... I have built... So that, again, database isn't the right term because Lyrazider is the one to build a database. But essentially I've got a model of the game which I am satisfied I can answer the questions I am interested in for it. But rather than, and again, like, I don't believe in writing by committee. So if people, they say it's like, I don't have enough information to be able to ask stuff like that. But I'd say, let your imagination run wild. I can say, if you don't follow any of those guidelines, that's fine. Just keep in mind it may not be a question that I can meaningfully answer with what I've built here. But I figure I know what I want to write about. If you guys have some stuff that you would like to see, you can feel free to tweet me. You can feel free to bring it up in Discord. You can feel free to leave a comment on a YouTube video or something like that. And I will do my best to frame it in a way that I can add to that post. I have no idea when the analysis will be done. Again, I'm sort of teaching myself branches of knowledge that I haven't known before, but that's why this has been a really interesting subject for me. And when it's ready, I'll obviously announce it on the stream. I'll probably I'll have it's visual. I'm not very good at doing visual stuff, but I do actually have something visual that I think you guys will enjoy. So with that in mind, I wanted to bring that up. I actually did not look for a Cultist Simulator stream, so let me see if I can find that right now. We've got a few folks together. All right. I don't know this person, but Inebriated Iguana does not have a cam, so I'm gonna host them. The other person just has a big purple Twitch sign, so I figure I could I'd at least go for one that I can look at. But I'm gonna host Inebriated Iguana. The message that you see there that we're tired of System Talk, heard this place was better, that's usually when I'm hosting somebody that I know. So you don't need to use that. I use that raid command still, just because if for whatever reason you don't go through the Twitch raid, it'd be nice that you know where we're heading. So feel free to hang out. They're playing Cultist Simulator. I believe they are doing their first detective run, so it should be good. And as for me, unfortunately there's no Surviving Mars tomorrow. I really tried to record one yesterday and stuff caught up with me. But on Friday I will be back. I might do Age of Wonders Planetfall again. I need to figure out what I want to do. But as always, I will announce it on Twitter. And then if you're just here for Cultist Simulator, I will see you all next week. Until then, have a lovely evening and we'll see you next time.